What's up, everybody? It's HBT with Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm with my man Christopher Burton.
The People's Podcaster. What's going on, y'all? Glad y'all made it in.
Along with special guest, my man Scott Larson is in the house from #Truth. What's up,
guys?
Scotty?
What's up, man? How y'all doing? Glad to be here.
Pretty good, man. It's good that you are here. And we have Joe Wheeler, guys. Hey, one of the best commentators in the business, guys. Straight up, my man Joe Wheeler is in the house. And hey, haven't talked to Joe in a long time, man. But Joe, hey, welcome to the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
Good to have you in, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to joining you, and glad we can make it happen. And looking forward to a great conversation, man. It should be a fun visit.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a great show, man. And hey, everybody, we will be getting to your comments today. But guys, we will be talking about black wrestlers, man, that's been through the business, basically during the time that us four have been fans of wrestling. So we will be talking about that and talking
about the impact that they've had on the business, man, throughout these eras, man.
No doubt. And we will round it off, guys, and give you all favorites. And hey, so we want you guys pretty much to get into the conversation. Let us know. I mean, we will be answering questions. I want you guys to pretty much stay on this conversation. I know one thing that we have people, they like to veer off and go into all kind of other different directions. But let's try to keep it coordinated, man, so we can stay where we at. We don't want to go all over the place. And I know you guys are anxious to talk about what's going on with the WWE SmackDown, what's going on with Raw, what's going on with AEW. I know you guys want to hear that, man, but we're going to talk about some black wrestlers, and we will talk about a few of them that's out here on the indie scene, man. We will talk about them because they deserve mention too. So Chris, I'm going to go ahead and start off, man. I'm going to start off with the first black wrestler that I saw. The first two that I saw was Sonny King and Bearcat Wright. Those are the first two that came on my radar. That was in the early 70s. I saw those two, and they both pretty good wrestlers.
The first one let me see. It was a couple I saw, man. Obviously Junkyard Dog, and Iceman King Parsons.
Okay.
And Pistol Pez Watley, man, were just some of the few that I saw, man.
Pistol Pez Watley turned into Shaska. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to throw one to you, Harry. I'm going to throw one to you. I saw all those guys too, but one that I remember that stood out for me because I'm a big CCW fan, Continental Championship Wrestling. Pork Chop Cash, man.
Pork Chop Cash. Yeah, I remember Pork Chop. Pork Chop Cash. Nice. All right. Joe, I know you have somebody special for me. Might be the same guys. I don't know.
Well, some of the first guys that pop into my mind, Thunderbolt Patterson.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thunderbolt.
I grew up watching the old Georgia Championship Wrestling, and Thunderbolt could literally talk the people into the building because his interviews were so good.
Yes, he could. I mean, one of the best mouths in the business. Thunderbolt would get in there and shuck and jive, man, and pretty much they take on the whole crowd. I mean, everybody in the back out there and try to get Thunderbolt off somebody, and Thunderbolt be beating up everybody. Yeah, he's incredible, man. Thunderbolt was an incredible performer. Some people, a little down on his wrestling, but Thunderbolt wasn't a technical expert. Thunderbolt was one of these guys that got in there. He's gonna kick, he's gonna punch, he's gonna choke you out or whatever it took. But Thunderbolt Patterson is incredible, and he was in some great tag teams, man, with Ole Anderson. I think he teamed up a little bit with Tommy Rich and Tony Atlas there, Mr. Wrestling too. But Thunderbolt was pretty special.
He was. I really remember his interviews, watching the old Georgia Wrestling. And, of course, you mentioned Tony Atlas. And, of course, him and Rocky Johnson made the big history when they won the tag team titles. That was huge.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
And it's funny that you mentioned talking about Tony Atlas and Rocky Soul, man.
Right.
Because it was just funny because Tony has said, hey, man, Yeah, I know y'all saw me and Tony in tag. We won the championships and everything, first black tag team, and everything and all that. But he was like, be honest, me and Rocky, he said it. Him and Rocky couldn't stand each other, man. They couldn't stand each other. He's like, the only time they were together when they won them and when they lost them. They couldn't be around each other. And I was like, wow, that is a crazy dynamic.
Well, man, things like that happen, I mean, it really does. But I don't know. Rocky, I think it was a great tag team, but I think that was something that Vince McMahon, I'm talking about senior. I think he wanted those guys to get together, and he wanted to pretty much capitalize on that because you have the history of nobody at that time had been crowned the world champion. I mean, even though you can go back to Bearcat Wright back in his days from WWA, that he was crowned the world champion, the world championship there, but they was only out in California, mainly the San Francisco, the Bay Area. But they was part of the NWA at one time. And they stepped away, and he won that title. And that's kind of like a controversial thing there, that he was actually the first black world champion, but he wasn't really recognized by. Back then, it was mainly the wrestling magazines. If they did not recognize your title as a world title, usually it wasn't a world title. Just put it that way. So that right there. But Bearcat Wright was the first one, I believe. If I'm not, if I'm wrong, let me know, Joe. But I think Bearcat Wright was the first one who was recognized as a world champion.
Right. I believe that is accurate. Of course, right. Bobo Brazil was huge, and he from what I understand, he had he had a match with Buddy Rogers, and he won the match, but he declined the title because he had hit Rogers in the groin, and it was an accidental type thing, and Bobo didn't want to take the title, because of the situation. So that's kind of those, one of those ghost title changes, or it occurred, but he turned it down. So, that's very duly noted, I think, in Bobo's career that, he probably could have been a world champion for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Bobo did win it. And I remember when he handed it back, I remember them showing it on Mid-Atlantic TV. They showed the TV taping of it when he won it and he handed it back. And back then, I mean, that was great on Bobo because it went all over the place as far as the wrestling world that, hey, this man is that honorable to give that title back because he didn't want to win it in that way. Bobo really didn't need the title, man. He traveled all over the world. He made so much money. He was one of those early black wrestlers that did make money. There was only a few that really made a lot of money out here. Bobo Brazil. I'm talking about making a whole lot of money traveling. All of them, a lot of them made a lot of money. Rufus R. Jones made tons of money in the Carolinas. Let's see, Bobo Brazil, Ernie Ladd, those guys made all kind of money traveling. They was on that Dusty Rhodes type level as far as traveling and making money. But yeah, Bobo, his reputation preceded him to where he could go to anywhere and pretty much make money. Sad thing is, I don't know, as far as I'm pretty sure family and a lot of people was on him and he was helping a lot of people out, that he ended his life. I mean, pretty much at the end of his life, he was still wrestling and, to help pay bills and do things. But then he said he was only wrestling to pretty much, because, hey, what else am I going to do? So he continued to wrestle. But, that's good right there. You right on the money with that, Joe. He did win a world title. He won it, but he did hand it back to Bruno Sammartino. I remember that. Mm-hmm. All right. So next, a pro wrestler.
Harry, before we do that, man. Hey, we don't want to forget, man. We got a special guest, but we got our family, man. You got to recognize our family, man, in the comments, Harry.
Oh, yeah, I know. What's up, Straight Up Wrestling family? What's going on, Straight Up Wrestling family? Sorry about that.
Pay the bill,
comment. But right now, guys, we got 4 guys. It's 4 of us. And, hey, we love talking to our man, Scott Larson and Joe Wheeler. Like I say, we haven't talked to Joe Wheeler since the show, we did for your wife, Chris. And I'm glad to talk to him, man, except for a few little things that we said on Facebook. But yeah, I'm glad that we actually got to do this. And, especially since our partner, man, our commentary partner past, Danny Paris, and, Joe and Danny, they were like 2 peas in a pod. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
man.
yeah, Straight Up Wrestling family, we're gonna get to your comments. But Chris, go ahead and talk about that special guest you talking about. We got.
Oh no, I'm talking about the people in the comments, man. Our family.
You talking about
man.
the people in the comments? Oh, they the special guests.
Man.
Hey, they're not special guests, man. They are friends of the Straight Up Wrestling Show. You know that. Let's go ahead and roll with some of these questions, and then when we come back, we're gonna go to Scott Larson, then I'm gonna roll over to Joe, and then back to you, Chris. All right, man. Robert Brown says Lafayette, Indiana, back in the building. What's happening, y'all? What's up? Robert Brown, Robert? Lafayette, Indiana. I know you got a lot to say. JL Harrington and crew. What's up, JL? Ray Underwood says, hello, brothers. Ray. And Ray, man, we're going to send a link to you if you want to come in and have a few words here within the next 30 minutes or so. We will, I will be happy to bring you in and have a few things, let you say a few things. Robert Brown, Ron Simmons should have been a 3-time WCW world champion and a WWF world champion.
That's an interesting statement, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Look, Robert, I'm gonna go ahead and give you what I think about that. Now, I think Ron Simmons should have won it one more time. And he should have had a longer reign. He held it for 4.5, I think 5 months. Should have had a little longer reign and maybe win the WCW World Championship again. When he went to WWE, in my opinion, even though I thought he was great up there, I don't think he was at his peak anymore as far as his peak power. So, at that time, I didn't think he should have won a WWE championship, WWF championship, I think, when he first went up there. But he should have been – he did win a World Tag Team Championship. He did win that. I do think he should have maybe won an Intercontinental Championship. Did he win that? No, he just won the tag team.
No, he just tag.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah,
he was a great teacher at that point. He became somebody in the locker room that took a lot of them guys under his wing and
right.
And taught a lot of those guys, APA and in those days he was teaching a lot of people. Of course, he still had his good characters and he did his
Big
run
time.
with Nation of Domination and all that good stuff. But
right,
he was still all them guys that were around him. He was at a teaching point.
Yeah, that's true. Time, and they all benefited off of him. And and they said Rock got a lot of his sayings off of Ron Simmons. So that right there was just that was good. You have anything you want to say on that, Joe?
Y'all were covering it good. Ron Simmons is just a class act and a tremendous athlete, of course. Great football background, and I think they had a point. He probably could have had another very successful run in WCW. Had he not moved on.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Who will ever forget when he won the heavyweight championship?
Oh,
and
won it at a house show.
Man.
So.
And what's so messed up though, man? I think back on it, man. It was a good move that he won the belt, but if you're gonna make a move like that, you gotta think ahead, man. You playing checkers, not chess at that point. Because think about it, guys. Okay, he won the belt. Great, awesome moment. Breaking the fourth wall, the whole deal. Everything's wonderful. All right, now what? Everybody's like, and that's
where do we go from here?
Happened. That's basically what happened. They got caught with their pants down. They're like, okay, he's got the belt. What are we gonna do with him?
WCW was in transition at that time, as far as with I think Pizza Man was running it. Well, Bill Watts, and then Bill Watts let it go. Then I think Pizza Man came in. Oh no, Eric Bischoff came in.
Yeah,
and pretty much took it over. So they was kind of in transition. But I think Ron Simmons, during that 4.5 months or 5 months that he did have it, he did defend the title. He defended the title against some pretty good opposition. So I think he had a pretty good run. He had a real good run, to tell you the truth. He wrestled Van Vader a couple more times. He defended against Luger. I think Rick Rude was there. He defended against him. So he had some pretty stout competition, and he overcame those guys. So. I can't hate. I can't hate on his reign. He had a pretty good reign. It's just that it ended prematurely, and I think he should have stayed and probably worked a little bit more and regained that title within a few months. And I believe he actually could have did that and had a longer title reign. Would have been better. It would have been better for his legacy.
But now, as far as Ron, I'm gonna get off this subject. But as far as Ron goes, I think at the time he was starting up with the Nation, getting that whole ball going.
Yeah.
It was the perfect time for him to strike, man. It was the perfect time for him to strike, and Vince put that strap on him. Even if it was for a month and a half, maybe 2. Because you got to think, at that time, the world was in a cultural transition.
Right.
Okay. The world was in a cultural transition, and we were just at the premature stages of the Attitude Era, the very premature stages.
Right.
I mean, you got to think. Ron has even said, once the Nation got going and everything, that ball got rolling and they got hot and everything, that would have been the perfect time because you had the Nation of Islam literally up there asking, "Oh wow, hey Ron, we heard you down for the cause. We having a seminar with Louis Farrakhan at the hotel, and y'all in town. You want to come be a guest speaker?" And Ron was like, "Wait a minute, hold on now. Hey, y'all taking this thing a little too far." I mean, it was hot, man, because he would have definitely got some eyes as being, a WWE champion.
That's
especially
true.
with that machine behind him.
Well, that's true.
That would have been amazing, man.
I can kind of agree with. I'm glad Ron didn't do that, because if Ron would have did that, then you would have had probably, like, say, the black Muslim population in the U.S. thinking that, hey, he was part of that, man. Because that gimmick was basically like the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And so, he pretty much wanted to keep that away from, because I don't know.
But it was just so believable, man, that they were like, "Oh, you down for the cause, man? Come on, be a special guest and sit up there with Louis Farrakhan and all this."
I bet that was the first time and the last time that Ron Simmons ever looked at somebody and said, "I'm just a wrestler."
Yeah. Probably so. And you know what? If he was a Christian, and Chris, I thought about that at the time. I'm like, if he's a Christian, because we don't know, he never really talked about it. I never heard him talk about his faith. Yeah. But if he's a Christian and being approached like that, of course he's gonna turn it down, because you're gonna go out there and publicly act like you're something that you're not. And Ron Simmons, he has too much integrity to do that. So so I'm not shocked that he didn't do that. But let me go and get to some more comments, and I'm gonna go to my man. We're gonna go over here to my man Joe J.L. Harrington, demanding us to stay on topic. Toleration. All right. Dictatorship. All right. Dig Doug, my man Douglas in the house says, "I wish I caught it sooner. I wanted in on this podcast." And Doug, before we get off, we're definitely going to get you in, man. Let you come in for probably 10, 15 minutes. Talk about a few wrestlers, because Doug, you the one who first brought this up to me 2.5 years ago. About 2 years ago, you brought this up, and we never have gotten to one. All right, Robert Brown, like I said earlier, Booker T, straight 8. Kiss up for the WWE. Okay, man. All right. Robert Brown says, "Swerve for the gold." All right, so, man, you in here throwing Swerve Strickland. I'm sure he's going to come up in the conversation. Robert, you do what you got to do for the money. All right, Ray Underwood said, Raymond says, "First wrestler I saw, Thunderbolt Patterson, Tony Atlas, Junkyard Dog." Okay, Robert Brown, Jay, you got that right. Robert Brown, don't forget another kiss up Tony Atlas. Okay, man. Underwood, female black wrestler, Ethel Johnson. Now we will get shout outs to the females too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, JL, wasn't WWF always on top? Why should it matter if any promotions legitimize them as black champions? JL, WWE was not always on top. WWF was not always on top. It was always a big promotion. It was always a big indie promotion, but they wasn't always on top. NWA was bigger than them. It's just that they covered New York, which had the most people in the country at that time. They covered, Rhode Island, Boston, all that stuff up there. That little area up there, the New England area, was theirs. But the NWA pretty much swallowed all the rest of the U.S. besides the Midwest. AWA had a hold on that. But the NWA wasn't just in the United States, it was worldwide. You had territories in Canada, you had territories over in Australia, had Canada in England, and had in a couple other places, and they was in on the Asian scene with New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Japan. So definitely the NWA was the big dog up until the early 80s, straight up. All right, let's see. Robert Brown says, you put the world title on Shelton Benjamin in 04. It was 04. Yeah, if they was going to give it to him, he should have got it around that time. All right, JL Shelton got past the jokes. Let's be real. Robert Brown, Jay. Let's see, Chris, I missed that, man.
He said, Jay, you ain't lying.
You ain't lying. Yeah, Doug says, I think all wrestlers, particularly black wrestlers, were underutilized by Vinny Jr. NWA. WCW gave way more shine to them. Well, you know, one thing about one thing I will say about WWF back then is that they was pretty much on the ethnic side of things as far as putting putting titles on ethnic wrestlers. And I'm not talking about black or white. They was into putting titles on Italians. It was
Polish,
Scottish,
Irish,
a little different.
Yeah.
So, you know, I will go with that, Doug, that they was, you know, I know you're Italian, but, and, you know, that's European, that's white, but it was ethnic. It's ethnic. It's something different in the United States. So that's what they was looking at mostly. All right, JL, we are special guests, the nerve of Harrington. All right. All right, Robert Brown. Let's see. What? HBT. Joe Wheeler and Scott Larson, do y'all swerve when y'all drive? Man, get on with all that, man. I'm not with that.
Wait a minute. Since he called my name out, I've got to say something, Robert Brown. I want you to think about this. You said that Booker T was a straight suck up at WWE, right? We're talking about great black wrestlers on here, but
right.
let's add something to Booker T's resume here. Name a higher set tag team than what him and his brother had, and I'll let you say that and get away with it. Harlem Heat was one of the best black tag teams. I mean, I can't think of one before that shined better than Harlem Heat.
That's facts. That's facts.
Harlem Heat was huge, man. It was huge. I mean,
Booker T now, yeah, Booker.
He's
T,
a company guy. He's a company
guy. Yeah, no doubt. But back in the day when he was wrestling, there was no Harlem Heat was the biggest thing going with when it came to tag teams. You know.
Yeah. They really were, and you know, when they put Sensational Sherry with them, that just added to their fire, man. I mean, that was where they really took off with the tag team titles and everything.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
Oh yeah,
very right.
You know, only thing I could really say to that is they were in WCW. So I mean, they were in WCW, but in my opinion, I do think Vince. I think they did pretty well with Booker T. You know, he got his just due there too. He did. You know, not as much as he should have, but I look at him as the same way I look at Ron Simmons. Booker T was great in WCW, especially when he went solo. Man, he was incredible. But when he got to WWE, I think he was waning. He got a little bit older. He was waning. He was a little bit on the shorter end of his career, but he still gained a lot of notoriety up there. And he was able to win championships there too to continue on with his legacy, man. But I think he had pretty much, you know, got a little, a little bit late in his prime at that time. But man, it happens. I mean, if Sting would have went there instead of going to TNA, but Sting was already, you know, he was getting up there as far as his prime go. He was pretty much on the latter end. I think if he would have went there, he still would have did great. But I don't think he would have been as great as people thought he was because of where he was in his career. Ric Flair, when he got up there, Ric Flair was basically out of his prime, man. He was 42 when he got to the WWE. Even though he won a couple world championships up there, he was not the same player that he was when he was in NWA, straight up. So you know, we have to look at where are these wrestlers when they get to a certain point, when they get there. So, I mean, it makes total sense if Booker T would have got the same Booker T that had that 4 out of 7 against Benoit. If that Booker T would have got up there, I would be like, yeah, you put a heavyweight title on him. Man, he was crushing it. But that was like 2 years before WCW. No, 3 years before they had shut down. In 98, 99, Booker was incredible, man. At that time, I could say he probably was the best wrestler in the world at that time, man. He was incredible.
I'm going to make Robert Brown pull his hair out. Booker T didn't become a great wrestler till after the first time he did the spinneroonie. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Oh yeah, he did.
Just
that
gonna put it out
there. Hey, that's when I started liking him, Scott, because I didn't like him, and
then he started talking to his hand.
So Harry, you told me you didn't like him when it was the Ebony Express, and I knew you knew about him back then.
Joe was about to say something. Go ahead and say something. Joe was about to say something.
Oh, the Ebony Express back in Texas. I mean, when they first started in Texas, you could see them even then. They were going places, you know.
Oh yeah, First time I saw him, I think in Texas, I think it was a global championship wrestling, right, Joe?
It was either global or world class. I'm not sure exactly what they were running on.
Out in world class, but they ended up in global. I know that. First time I saw him was in global championship wrestling, and they was Ebony Express, and it was Kane and something else. They was called Kane, and one of them was Kane. Booker T was Kane. The other one, Stevie Ray, I don't know what he was called, but they had different names, Chris.
Right.
Anybody know, let me know. But it was Kane and somebody else. I was looking at them, I'm like, You know, and first thought in my mind was Doom. Okay. I thought about Doom. Butch Reed and Ron Simmons. But I was like, man, these guys are pretty doggone good. And when they did come to WCW, I did know them. But I didn't think they was gonna raise up to the heights that they got to, especially when they first came in, because that tag team division was loaded. But hey, they did their thing, man, straight up. All right, let's see. Get back. All right. Let's see. Doug says Ron was my guy. Good point. Great mentor, no doubt.
Yeah, he was.
Brendan Dawson in the house. Up, Harry and Chris.
What's
All right,
up,
Robert
man?
Brown, Vince Russo, Booker T, way better. Let's see. Dan Straight A, Kennedy McPimpin, Vince McMahon, because Book was running from nobody, no doubt. All right, Robert Brown, Ahmed Johnson should have been a WWF champion.
No. Robert, you reaching now, Robert. No.
All right, Chris, go ahead. Go ahead and say what you got to say about that, man.
Okay, man. Number one, we going back to the talking thing. He talked like he had a mouthful of sand, bricks, and cat litter.
Wow.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
That's number one. And number two, he only had, on a good night, 3.5 wrestling holes. On a good night.
Yep.
How in the world you go?
See, Ahmed Johnson would have been awesome if he could talk. He would have been just like The Rock. See, The Rock only had like 5 wrestling moves himself, but he was the great. I'll argue with anybody, the greatest man on the stick ever, and still is. But Ahmed Johnson, man, he'd trip over his own words, man. I'm serious. I mean, bad.
All right, Joe, you got anything to say about Ahmed, man?
I mean, y'all are summing it up right there. I mean, he couldn't speak, he couldn't communicate, he didn't have the charisma, the personality about himself, and his repertoire of moves was very limited. And from what I understand, he was stiff as a crowbar, and he hurt people. So who would want the guy around?
And he didn't get along with too many people.
And you know what, Robert Brown, for some reason, I think you trolling us, man. I think you joking around. I'm not sure, but we'll find out.
And think about this, man. There's a noted story. Ron Simmons, when Ahmed came in, Vince was like, Ron, you're a great mentor. You're a leader in the locker room. Everybody respects you. Got this guy, Ahmed Johnson. We think about putting him in the nation. We're gonna work with him and everything. Want you to mentor him. Ron's like, okay, cool. Ron, everybody respects Ron. Ron's talking. Everybody's supposed to be listening. Ahmed ain't listening, doing his own thing. This goes on for a couple of months. All right, things don't work out with Ahmed in the nation. He goes off and does his thing. They book a match between Ron and Ahmed. Ahmed does a move wrong, and it basically punctures Ron's kidney. And Ron basically just got there maybe a couple of months earlier. So it punches Ron's kidney, this move. Ron's out for almost 6 months to a year. Okay. When Ron finally comes back, they said Ron was like, speak to everybody. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm good. Chat with everybody in the locker room on his way to the dressing room. They said when Ron came back, he didn't say nothing to nobody. And Teddy Long even said when he looked around, he's like, "Hey, Ron." Ron gave him a look. He's like, "You know what's going down, and you better not say nothing." And Teddy was like, "All right, I got you." But basically, that night, he went out there, and Ahmed had a match, I believe, if I remember the story right. Ahmed had a match. Ron was gonna go out and interfere, and Ron went out there and laid the lumber to him. I'm talking about beat him. I mean, the stiffest kicks, the stiffest punches. He whooped up on Ahmed, man.
Yeah, that's what's been said.
Ron
haven't, he haven't refuted it either. He said, "Yep, that's what he did."
Yeah, he was like, "Man, if I could have stayed out there like 10 more minutes, I would have killed him."
Oh God,
he would have been a dead man on live TV.
Look, I was only impressed one time with Ahmed Johnson. He was in the hospital. He got attacked or whatever. This is when he first started, and he was hot, man. I mean, he was hot. He was pretty much in line for that. I think he won the Intercontinental title. I'm not sure, but he got attacked or something like that. He was in line for it. He was in line for it, but he got attacked. I can't remember who attacked him, but he was in the hospital. And they went and they talked to him in the hospital bed. I don't know if he was at home or whatever, but they talked to him. And he said a few words that what he was going to do. That's the only thing why he sit there. He's like, "Yeah, I'm down right now. But when I get back up, I'm going to come in there. I'm going to take care of business." That's the only time I was ever impressed with him. I'm like,
hey, I don't think he quite said it like that. It sounded more like,
of course it did. Of course it did.
That's what it sounded like, Harry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He barely.
I will say this though. We can't deny this. He was a physical specimen.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt.
He was
a physical specimen, but the rest of it all needed help, man.
All right. All right. Magnum says, "Greetings, Chris and Harry, and guests. Awesome show tonight. Great discussion. Thank you, Mag."
Thank you, Mag.
All right. Robert Brown, 3 future AEW World Champions: Swerve, Ricky Starks, and Will Hobbs. And that's 3 black wrestlers. And I think Ricky Starks got great talent. Swerve, pretty good. Will Hobbs.
Don't you do it, Harry. Man. Don't you do it. I'm good friends with Will Hobbs. Don't you do it.
I'm not going to dog him. I'm not going to do it, man. All right, I'm going to roll past this comment. All right, man. All right, Robert.
That is my biggest claim to fame on #Truth in the last 3 years. I interviewed Will Hobbs like 3 weeks before he got hired at AEW. Don't do it.
Yeah, all right, man. I'm gonna leave it alone, man. I'm gonna let it slide. All right, Robert Brown says, "Ever since Bash on the Beach, 2000, Jeff Jarrett hasn't put over black wrestlers."
Man, Joe, you want to probably expound on that, Joe?
Oh wow, I don't know nothing about all that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. I'm not really sure where they're coming from on that one. I'm kind of curious about Will Hobbs. I guess he's got the communication skills of Ahmed Johnson. Is that the point that we were getting across earlier, Mr. Hobbs? Isn't a very good interview, huh?
No, he was a great interview. Go back and watch it. I'm going to start plugging my show, but no, it was a good
plug the show.
It was just me and Harry don't agree on that. I think I agree with him. I think Will Hobbs deserves to be up there with the big boys, but right now, he's working it.
I still say Brian Cage is a better wrestler than Hobbs.
You say Brian
Not
Cage
just because I interviewed him, but I am a fan.
Yeah. Look. Will Hobbs, when he first got into AEW, the first I'll say up to 2022, Will Hobbs looked like, man, he was championship material. I mean, there's no ands and buts about it, man. The guy's a special guy. But now it seems like, hey, he done got a little lazy to me. And no, he's not great on the mic. He needs a manager. But it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he's been booked outrageous. And I have to say, the booking over there at AEW right now.
I was going to say that's just AEW, bro.
Yeah. So Will Hobbs, he's on the book of Hobbs. Then next thing you know, he's back with Don Callis. Then the next week, hey, He's friends with Swerve, not Swerve again. He's friends with Ricky Starks again. Then the next week he's attacking it. Right. So I'm like, you cannot build a career like that. And
yeah, but Harry, seriously though, in the wrestlers' defense over there at AEW, if you're gonna give me the contracts they're giving these guys, I'll wrestle a broom. I'm just saying.
Exactly. I agree. I agree, man. I'll be just like I said. Me and Chris done talked about it plenty times before. Tony Schiavone Tony Schiavone knows this business like crazy. Jim Ross does too. But you know what? They collect their checks and go home.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say anything. They don't rock the boat over there with Tony Khan and say, man, you don't run a wrestling show like this. Now, Jim Ross gets on this podcast and talks about it all the time. He be dogging AEW. He dogs it. But, hey, he's not going to say anything to Tony about it. He let him run.
But he's watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Got to watch it to dog it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem right there. You just hit the nail on the head with AEW is nobody stepping up to Tony Khan and saying, look, we need to get some flow here. We need to get some continuity. We need to make some sense to the people that are watching it rather than being all over the place like you were just saying with Hobbs. There's no real booking and consistency there,
Wait a minute.
True.
I have to say something about that. The ones that have are back in WWE.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, this is true. Now that Scott, you made a very valid point on that, Scott.
I mean, can you imagine when Cody was over there? I'm pretty sure Cody and Brandy was like, "Hey, we need to get out of here."
Oh, come on, man. Even CM Punk, man, even in his dastardly way, CM Punk told the truth, man. There was nothing CM Punk said at that press conference. It shouldn't have been done, but there's nothing he said at that press conference that wasn't true.
Hey, man, when you in a company like WWE, despite what Vince, all the allegations out there, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he done a lot of that stuff probably. Yeah. But that company is ran, man, it's like a well-oiled machine. Very professional. Everything lined is streamlined goal, man. It's the path of it is correct. Now, I'm not gonna, they have booking problems too. Because one thing I think is they got too many cooks in the kitchen. But as far as that management, man, you done talked about it, Chris. That infrastructure, how that thing is run, man. When you come from that, people like CM Punk, Cody Rhodes done came from that, and some of those other wrestlers who went from WWE and went over and saw that and see what's going on at AEW. They're gonna go in there and say, man, the wrestling company is not run like this. What kind of trash is this, man? Everything's all over the place.
Harry, look at how many great wrestlers in the first year that AEW was on TV, and look at how many great wrestling minds.
Oh yeah,
Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake, all these guys couldn't turn that around. I mean, what's it going to take, man? I mean,
that's true.
I don't know at that point. You got Sting, you got, they just keep coming, and it's not changing. But
when Flair said the same thing about WWE versus WCW.
Yeah,
he was like, and Jericho too. He was like, man, he was like, in WCW it was like black and white, but when I went to WWE, he was like, the lights came on. It's actually color. He's like, this is how it works. The bosses tell the wrestlers what to do, not the other way around.
And you remember
this is how it's supposed to work.
Remember when we sat down, we was talking in Atlanta, we was talking to Teddy, when we take that interview we had with Teddy Long.
Yeah.
Even before we got on there, Teddy Long was telling us about the infrastructure, how to managerial side of WWE runs. And he talking about, man, Vince will teach you about the wrestling business, how it should go. It was just it's just like day and night, and he came from WCW, which was a pretty big deal back then. So,
Harry,
all right, man,
let me ask you a quick question, and then we'll. I promise. I know we're getting off topic, like you said. You don't want to do that, but I got one question, and I just want an honest, quick yes or no from you. Do you seriously think WCW would have been able to challenge WWE if the NWO didn't form in WCW? Do you think they would actually beat them in the ratings or any of that?
No.
I believe so, Scott. And I'm gonna tell you this reason. I'm gonna tell you. Go back and look at the rating right before the NWO was formed, before the Outsiders even showed up. They only lost by it was like I think WWE had a 2.86 and they had a 2.63. they was right up on them. They was right up on them. They brought the outsiders in there and they overtook them because they was right up on them. The thing back then was WCW had all the stars. And then they had the big name stars who came from WWE over there too. You know, you had Savage, and you had Hogan. Even though Brutus Beefcake was over there,
but they didn't start beating them until the NWO.
Of course,
until Scott Hall came out and basically without saying it said, WWE's coming in to take this over. And then everybody started paying attention. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. But I do think they was going to get them. See, the thing about it is this. What you have to remember is still Nitro was new. It was new. Raw had been in existence for 9 years?
Yeah, 8 or 9 years.
Long time. So that still was new at that time. Even though WCW been around a long time, people was used to WCW being on Saturday nights, and they still was coming on Saturday nights at 6:15. On Saturday night, 6:05. Let me take that back.
I was going to say, man, it's 05. Yeah. It's 05.
6:05. Coming on. So people was not used to that.
Right.
But yeah, eventually I think they would have overtook them. And look, I think the strategy would have been better because Eric Bischoff would have had to work with the way that WCW ran it. He would have had to work with the old guard as far as coming up with great matches. And that's one thing WCW was known for. NWA was known for that all the way around, is coming up with great storylines, great matches. He would have had to keep working on that. And when you had your factions like the Four Horsemen, you had the Dangerous Alliance, you had people like that. You had the Varsity Club, you had factions like that. They had storylines that surrounded those that was great.
Oh, I seriously think the downfall of WCW was when there was 50 factions within the NWO. There was different colors, different
exactly.
It got stupid at one point. I quit watching it after that.
Chris will tell you that's around the time I stopped watching. Around 99, they still was hot, and I was telling Chris and our friend Drake. I was saying, man, they need to stop this. What are you talking about, man? Everybody was telling me that. Chris, Dre, Samson, they was all telling me, man, what are you talking about? Remember when I started watching it, Chris? I said, this right here is going to kill WCW. I'll never forget when they did that silly pay-per-view, that NWO pay-per-view. Oh, God, sold out. And that was one of the
They took over Nitro right after that, too. It was NWO Nitro after that for a little while and everything. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got caught up in the story. I liked it when it was the first 4 or 5 guys. When it was just when Hulk Hogan changed, that changed everything because that was huge.
It was a great story. It just ran too long. Yeah. Everything has a shelf life. Yeah. Everything.
Well, they're saying the same thing about the bloodline. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to ask you that. I just wanted to hear.
Oh, you got me, man. You got me. All right, let's go ahead and answer these questions. Then I'm gonna hit my man Joe. We're gonna go and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Tiger Conway Jr. and his son, and then we're going to talk about some other black wrestlers. Robert Brown, I agree. Harlem Heat was the best in WCW, hands down. Ray Underwood. Scott, what about the Soul Patrol tag team? They were great. Yeah, they were.
Now, which Soul Patrol? I know 2 of them.
Yeah, we know.
Both Soul Patrols are great. Both of them are great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right,
and we got Wayne Cochran on Facebook, man. What's going on? Everyone from Japan.
All right, my man from Japan. Wayne, what's going on? One of my best friends, man, from high school. Wayne Cochran, man, and middle school too. We came up together pretty much. Wayne is in the house. He lives in Japan now. Hey, Wayne, keep getting better over there, brother. All my prayers are with you. All right, Robert Brown. The only time Straight A Kennedy, McPim, and Vince McMahon really pushed. Okay. Booker T, I got that one. Doug said, heck no, Ahmed was a chump.
Yeah, he was.
All right. Black Rain 7920. Y'all remember Coco Beware? I used to see him when I was younger at FedEx Hub in Memphis. Yeah, I remember Coco. I remember him before. He came big time too.
I get to toot my own horn. Wait a minute, Harry. Coco Beware. I get to toot my own horn here. I'm so happy. I hope Coco watches this because guess who I've got in my phone? Guess who I talked to back at EWF when he came to sign autographs, and I told him about my show, and that was back when he injured his knee. He injured his knee shortly after that and had to go do surgery, and he still texts me. He texted me like 4 days ago.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's great.
That's what's
That
up,
is
man.
great.
That's what's up, Scott.
All right, man.
I was waiting for somebody to mention him so I could, toot my own horn. But no, he's a good guy, man. He is. He's a really good guy.
He seemed to be a pretty good guy, man.
Thank you, Black Rain, for doing that. By the way, I appreciate it.
Harry just didn't like him because he came out with the bird. Boy.
Come on now. I heard Harry singing the bird the other day on the show. Wasn't that him? Wasn't that you doing?
Yeah,
that?
I was singing the bird one day on the show, man. But yeah, it wasn't no dedication to no Coco Beware. I wasn't reminiscing about Coco, but better believe that. All right, what you think about Coco, Joe?
He was a great performer. I mean, he was very entertaining. A really nice guy, and he's had a great longevity as well. I just saw Coco back in August of last year in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, at Heroes and Legends convention over there, and he looked to be doing great health wise and was moving around. Very good for a man his age and given all the matches he's had. I mean, good Lord, the man's been in the business for years,
like 40 years or something like that. He's been around a long time, 40-something years.
Best, what was his finish of the Brain Buster? Wasn't it the Brain Buster? Or what was it?
I believe it's so. I believe it was a variation of the Brain Buster.
Too. But for some reason, I just lump him and Hunky Tonk Man together. I always do.
Now, let me ask y'all this. Now, if they would have put, let's say, the IC title on Coco,
oh wow,
do y'all think he would have been a decent champion? Honestly,
true. I think the fans really loved him.
Yeah,
he was extremely popular.
Yeah. Now, I obviously I don't see Coco as world heavyweight champion material. I don't see him as that now.
Hey, no,
I mean,
man.
Granted, does he have the potential? Yes, but I don't see him as that. But IC champion or something like that. Yeah, I can see that. And in this, I feel bad that he never did get a title reign at all.
The competition was heavy, man. The competition was heavy back then. It really was.
Yeah, I mean, that was when wrestling was really picking up, man, and things were really, really getting moving.
Well, that was also the era when Vince McMahon had a lot of weird characters coming out.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
and you know what? Characters. If Coco Beware didn't bring that bird out, I probably would have loved him to death. I remember when him and Norvell Austin was tag team partners.
Man, Peter gonna hear this and get us canceled. Boy, you gonna get us canceled, man. God don't mind. Somebody from Peter gonna get us.
Why are you hating on Frankie? Why are you hating on Frankie, man? What's up with hating on Frankie?
Hey, I'm okay with. Wait a minute, Frankie. I don't know, man. I can't say anything. Let me roll on, man. I'm gonna roll on.
Yeah, man. You gonna mess around, get us
avoid that like the flag, man. Look at that.
All right, we're gonna roll on to JL, man. JL said, "What about the boogeyman? Which boogeyman you talking about?"
The worm-eating boogeyman.
He probably talking about the worm-eating boogeyman.
Okay, man. Anytime you say boogeyman, my first thought is Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. I'm sorry, but
okay, we're talking about black people, man. Come on, get with it. It's your show.
I know, man.
Come on.
Hey,
man. Harry down. He didn't.
That he's talking about. All right,
but
man,
I will say this.
There you go with the Soul Patrol. You talking about Jimmy Valiant and Rocky Johnson in Memphis? The Soul Patrol back then. I mean, they lit it up. That was a really popular tag team.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. All right, Dig Doug. My man Doug said Ahmed was the Bob Sapp of wrestling. Stack the Bean. What's up, Stack the Bean? Stack the Bean says WWE mishandled Keith Lee's character. He could have been a lot better. He definitely could have, but you know what? Keith Lee didn't want to follow instructions. He didn't want to lose the weight, man. I mean, they wanted him to lose a certain amount of weight. And when you're an athlete, I mean, I can understand as a football player, in boxing, people was instructed, hey, you need to lose a certain amount of weight. You just do. That's all it is to it.
Come on, Harry. When he was at NXT and Triple H had him, he was doing moonsaults off the top rope.
I was about to say
Can he do moonsaults now, man? That was in NXT, though, Scott.
Yes.
But if they would have kept them going and kept them doing the same moveset, yeah, he would have been able to do it now. But they stopped. They made him act like a fat guy.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
But that's Vince. You know, that's Vince. Okay, look.
I like Keith Lee, man. I like.
Look, I like Keith Lee. Don't think I hate on Keith Lee. I don't.
Black and gold NXT was the best. Always will be.
That's what I was telling Harry, man. He need to go back and see it, man. And
go back, Harry. I'm just gonna say this. I won't move back on but you need to go back and watch them. You were down in my boys DIY a few shows ago, man.
I can't deal with them.
You need to go. You need to go watch the singles matches that they had at NXT when they were fighting each other. Three best matches at NXT, man. Come on now.
Check it out. All right, Andy Johnson. What's up, Andy? Andy says something, Harry and Chris. I'm new here. Yeah, Andy, this is the first time we've seen you, but we appreciate you coming in, joining the family, man. Appreciate you coming in, being a friend of the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm new here. Oh, my God, Harry. There's reports that WWE looking at a free agent from AEW to debut at Mania. It's already firm in the plans. Wow. I don't know. Wow, Andy, that's kind of crazy.
Scott nodding his head like he got the inside track, like he know what's happening.
All right,
I don't listen to dirt sheets, but I saw a video, man. So I think I know who he's talking about, and I hope it is.
All right, Robert Brown says, funny story. I could be mistaken. I think Ahmed Johnson and The Rock got into a fight.
I know him and D'Lo almost got into a fight, and D'Lo was about to walk the dog on it.
Yeah, but I'm glad. I'm hoping they didn't get into a fight. I know Rock's a big guy and everything, and I think he can take care of himself. But I don't know if Rock could have beat this guy in a fight, man. I just don't know. All right, James Mallory. Tony Khan didn't do nothing with Keith Lee either. No, he didn't, James. No, he hasn't. No. Vance Keyshawn, my favorite of all time is Harry and Chris, Hall of Famer wrestler in the concrete. Now that's Black History. Thanks, Keyshawn.
Thank you, man.
Right. Thank you. Black Rain 7920. Ahmed was the Kwame Brown of wrestling. God almighty, man.
Poor Ahmed, man.
All right. JL, WWE had Cody say to Roman, I won't fight you at Mania. Now all of a sudden they act like he is being forced out of the match. AEW and WWE both are a mess. Let's be objective, even if there is bias. Look, JL, I pretty much did say that WWE has some booking problems too. They do. Too many cooks in the kitchen, man. Straight up. Robert Brown, I think Cody and Brandy saw brawl out coming from a mile away. Yep. JL, I respect all of your opinions, but you are acting like AEW is a complete mess and WWE is flawless. Yikes.
Nobody said that, JL. I mean, WWE's got its issues too now.
Yeah, they got a lot of issues right now.
WWE's got its issues too.
But I just hate to say it. AEW's are just their flaws just show up a little bit more because they're not good at hiding them.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
When it boils down to it, I'm gonna put it like this. WWE right now, they have a WWE have a. I'm not going to go with a Cadillac because Cadillac is not as good as they used to be. WWE, let me go with a real good car. Let me go with a Toyota Camry or let's go with a Lexus. Those are really
Lincoln Town car, cars. Man. Hit the big time.
No, man. I'm talking about cars that work mechanically. I'm not talking about.
I thought you were talking about tanks. Okay,
we go with BMWs. We can go with these top of the line cars that only going to get Audi and things like only going to get 80, 90,000, maybe 100,000 miles. I'm talking about cars that get up to 200, 400,000 miles. I'm talking about the Camrys. I'm talking about your Lexuses. I'm talking about your Grand Marquis. I'm talking about those cars. But their engine is a little low. They halfway on the oil. Somebody haven't been watching that oil, man. They had a 2-quart instead of 4 quarts. That's where WWE is at right now. If you ask me, they're slacking in certain parts, but the infrastructure and it's built so well that they're able to stay afloat. Now AEW is back to the old days. You never probably you might not even know what these cars are, but they on that Pinto level. They on that they on that Yugo level, JL. Man. You know, that's where they at. Right
the BW, the bug, man. That level, yeah.
Hey, the car's falling apart, brother. The car's falling apart. You know, they the Ford Tars of the 1980s, where the car was falling apart. You know, hey,
it's being held together by duct tape and bubble gum.
Exactly. You open up your door and the handle don't fell off. You go to adjust your mirror, the mirror don't fall down. And then, you know, it's hanging up, and you like Chris said, you put tape on it. But that's where they at. But my man, let's get to my man. Let's get over here and talk to Joe a little bit. Joe, if you've been following, I know you do a lot of lives. I mean, you go to a lot of shows, and that's one thing. Me and Chris, when we first started off this, we was going to all, we was out of all the independents and everything like that. So I know it's harder for you to follow WCW and WWE and AEW, but WWE. What do you think? What do you think they're at right now, as far as if you want to give them a grade so far within the last 6 months?
Oh, the last 6 months. I mean, they're with all the chaos that's been going on with Vince. I mean, they're satisfactory. I guess they're keeping the wheels rolling. They're keeping television going and stories going. But I think what happened with The Rock and Cody, is a perfect example of them having an moment, if you will, because they were going for this and they were hoping. Well, ultimately, they achieved their goal because they wanted to do something drastic to take the attention away from the situation with Vince, and that was why they did what they did with The Rock. But it backfired because the people said, "Oh no, we don't want this," and then they had to hot shot. They had to do a hot shot and turn The Rock heel. And because the bottom line is. The very bottom line, and they're smart enough to realize that the people got to be happy. You got to make your fans happy. You got to give the people what they want. And they did what they needed to do. Though they got the attention off of Vince, and they got the heat on the situation with The Rock. So ultimately, they achieved their goal.
Yeah, they did, no doubt, no doubt. All right, let's see. Robert Brown says Will Hobbs highlight a 23 was going over Jericho in like 5 minutes, and he did. I mean, he dominated Jericho, and that right there, they should have capitalized on it. And I was kind of upset that they didn't capitalize on it. I was like, Will Hobbs should have took him off, and they should have put him in another atmosphere. But Tony Khan didn't capitalize on it, and I wasn't shocked that he didn't know how to do that. So that right there, Scott, that was your man's time right there, and they messed it up. And plus, remember, I think at the end of 2022 or right at the beginning of 2023. This is when Ricky Starks was very hot. Remember, he was getting very hot. Looked like he was going to be a title contention and everything. And Will Hobbs attacked him, beat him half to death, and then he fought him in pay-per-view. Chris dominated Ricky Starks. I thought Hobbs was going to take off, man, and be a contender for the world championship. Then they didn't do it at that time either. So I'm just like, wow. But once again, it's not Will Hobbs' fault. It's the booker, man, and we know Tony Khan is doing that. And Tony Khan is like a kid with a crayon. That's all he's doing.
He drawing all over the place, man.
Exactly. But the whole thing about it is it's better for him to be with a crayon. I'm saying he's with a crayon instead of a pencil because he can't erase what he's doing. What he's doing, he is drawing certain things, and this ain't colored right, and he balling up the paper and throwing it away. Because it's a crayon, he's already drawing out the plans, and the plans are not working. It's messed up, man. It's really messed up. All right, man. But yeah, we definitely offer what we were saying, but let's get back on it. Robert Brown, Hulk Hogan needs to turn heel in '96. Okay, Jay Hill. I mean, WWE WWF kept Over the Edge 1999 running. But yeah,
you missed Black Rain, man. You missed Black Rain.
I didn't see that. It's not on my tablet.
Black Rain. I think without NWO, it probably would have went back and forth in the ratings because Stone Cold debuted in '96 and Mankind.
Well, that's true.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, let's see. But you know what? If they didn't have the NWO, do you think they would have actually had Stone Cold actually go that route? Because the result of Stone Cold and what they ended up doing, the Attitude Era, Rock, and everybody else, man, it was a result of what was happening with the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
That right there pretty much pushed WWF to what they became. Because remember, they was doing some goofy stuff at that time, man.
I'm going to say this, and then I just got to say this because you said that. Why don't they do that nowadays? Why doesn't the people who are running the WWE right now go into the locker room again because everything's falling apart? These guys don't have direction. Go in there like they did during the Attitude Era and say, hey, look, we're going to give you a little bit of free reign. Take your character to new heights. We want to see what you can do. That's what they did back then. That's when Stone Cold came out with that. And I mean, you could go down the list, man. of all these characters that just developed out of nowhere.
They had no choice.
They gave them the reins.
They had no choice then. When you have no choice, when you have nothing to lose, hey man, you go pull out all the stops. They had nothing to lose.
Right. I
you
got
know, hey, they even had Vince afraid that he was going to lose his company, man. You know, they pulled out.
I want to say this on that point. You just made an excellent point, Scott, because that's the problem, and it's been the problem with wrestling for a long, long time.
Right.
You can't take a square and put it in a round hole. You can't take certain people and personalities and put them into characters and expect them to succeed. You have to let their character be an extension of themselves or their real personality. Exactly. So when they go out there, when you see Stone Cold out there cutting an interview and drinking beer, that's pretty much the same Steve Austin that you're going to get backstage in catering, to a point, of course. But that's what's wrong.
Texas at his ranch, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Like, we were talking about that earlier today when we did that podcast earlier today. Like I was telling Chris, as a manager, I will always look at the strengths of the person, what they can do, and that's when I put them in a positions, or I put them in a certain position, and whatever jobs I was in management in, and I say, look, you need to go out here and do this, do that. That is not your strength, and you have to have people that's running this thing, that's running these business, running these wrestling companies, that can see that. If you can't see it as the boss yourself, you need to have a right-hand man who can see that and say, no, this is that person.
Everybody isn't a vision. Everybody isn't a visionary, man.
And, that's what I'm. Yeah.
And I just need to put this up there for Harry real quick, though. I just had to
man, you're crazy. But no, what did I just say, Chris? I said, if you can't do it, you have a right-hand man to do it.
Yeah.
We had bosses, man. Hey, when I first got out of college, at Floor Daniel, we had a boss, man, who pretty much, hey, he had lost it. Everything went away from him. He still was the boss, but he was a boss in name only. He had an assistant that was his right-hand man. He called all the shots, and then he had an assistant under him that when he, pretty much came along with him and say, no, I think that'd be better for this person to be in this position. So you have to have that chain of command, Chris. You got to have somebody telling you that. That's why I have you. So just in case we booking the show, and if my booking decision, what I decide to book, if it don't seem right, I can rely on you. We had Dan Paris, man. Like I say, I'm like, Dan, I went to both of you guys when we made that show for your wife. Hey, how does it sound to you guys? I wasn't gonna go out there and do it myself, and because some of these wrestlers, y'all knew them more than me. You knew about all of them. Danny definitely knew them. And I'm like, you guys be around, these guys all the time. So I only been around them a certain amount of time. There's a few of them that I've been around a lot. I say, what do you think about this person against that person? I think their personalities are good. I think they'll have a great match. Hey, we had a great night. That was an outstanding show. Everybody compliments it. It was great. It was a great show. But
I agree that you got to have somebody there to say, okay, here's the matches. But I think what we're trying to say is, if you give the wrestlers freedom to be themselves, you're gonna find better characters and better, like he said, they're gonna be themselves times 1,000. Give them that opportunity. If it fails, then then
go back, revisit the drawing board.
Give them some direction. But for the most part, man, it's not gonna fail. I doubt it'll fail.
And an extension on that, Scott. Remember this, Chris? The shows that we have done that we booked. What did I do? I went back there and I talked to the wrestlers and said, you know what to do. You know what you want to do. And on the promos, I gave them a direction that they needed to take their promo. But I said, you go out there and in your own words, be your own self. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, Scott. You got to give people, you got to give them you got to let like Joe said, you got to let their personality come out. You got to let them be themselves, or it comes off, not authentic. And the fans can see that, man. Yeah. Straight up. They can see
They will, and they'll see it real quick. And that's something that I get to do a lot. You're working with Southern States Wrestling, particularly. I've been with them for 25 years doing television over in the Tri-Cities, and I interview all these kids that are up and coming and getting started. And, for some of them, it may be the very first time they've ever done a television interview. And that's one of the things that I try to emphasize with them, and it is, we're going to give you bullet points. These are the 3 things that we want you to hit on.
Right.
We don't hand them a script. We just give them their bullet points and we get them covered. If they miss something, it's my job as the announcer to pick it up and say, don't forget it's, a hair versus hair match or whatever, throw in whatever and cover whatever they missed. But if you give somebody a script and you expect them to recite that, in a 2-minute promo, people are going to get jammed up. It's just not real.
No doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. So I'm 100% in agreement with that, Scott. 100%, just like Joe. Yeah, 100%. Man, you hit the nail on the head, man. You knocked it out the park with that. But let's get on back to where we was at. All right, Robert Brown says, okay, I already got that. WWF kept over the edge. Okay, we got that. Robert Brown, not to get off topic, think everything was fine between the Elite until they aligned with Tony Khan and started AEW. The Elite wanted Cody gone from 2019 on. Hey, I tell you what, somebody's over there regretting it. I guarantee you that. JL, I'm sorry. I wish I could convey myself better than that. JL, you said a mouthful, man. JL, 2.0 NXT was better.
Yeah.
Robert Brown, DC Carter should have put the TNA World Title on the Pope, Elijah Burke in 10, but no, they had AJ Styles drop the title to RVD the next time on Impact. Shame on DC Carter, Hulk Hogan versus and Eric Bischoff. Black Rain, hey, I just saw an AEW ad on.
Press pause on that, Harry. Press pause on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Elijah Burke, the Pope.
All right, man. Look.
Man, look here now.
Don't go too deep on it, Chris. I want to get
No. We getting back on track with this.
Okay.
Great wrestler, great talent. His views way out there, man. If you listen to that man's promos, he thinks he's the second coming of Jesus Christ with a suntan.
Man,
if I'm wrong, somebody tell me I'm wrong. Listen to the man's promos.
But Chris, you remembered it.
Yeah, but it was just like, dude.
You hated it so much you remembered it. Do you get it?
I get it. Unfortunately, it's stuck.
There's method in his madness. There's method in his madness. Trust me.
Trust me, man. I try to rinse my brain with Clorox every night to try to forget some things, man. It's like a permanent stain on my soul. It won't come off.
I remember Oz too when he debuted in WCW. Don't mean that I like it. You know what I'm saying?
The Shockmaster. Or the Shockmaster. We all remember that.
That was the greatest event that ever happened in professional wrestling, man.
But man, Elijah Burke, man, like I said, he's a great talent, man. But he's just too far.
I never listened to it at that time. I wasn't watching wrestling, but I remember Elijah Burke though.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Elijah Burke sounds like a good example of somebody letting a wrestler show their personality, but it needed to be reined back in. It needed to be brought back.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. All right. Black Rain 7920 says, "Hey, I just saw an AEW ad on Max watching the All-Star game." All right. Robert Brown, DC Carter buried the Pope like crazy, having him team with Kevin Nash and Sting. I remember that. Oh, Robert Brown, which match should have main event WrestleMania 40? Roman versus Cody Rhodes versus Rock. Roman versus Cody versus Roman Reigns versus Cody versus Rock versus Rollins.
He's just saying which way should the match go, man? You're gonna confuse yourself trying to.
I don't know, man. Like I say, I thought that's what he was saying, but it looked like he says which match. Okay, but look, Robert, man, we done talked about this time and time again, and that's one thing. Like I say, we're not gonna throw this thing into a bunch this whole thing up by that comment, man. So I'm just gonna roll past that.
Can I say one quick thing about that whole match and everything that's coming? Just one quick thing, because I'm a couch booker. Everybody knows I'm a couch booker. I love the couch book and try to predict. Imagine this. Answer this question for me, Harry. What was the first thing that Cody Rhodes did when he went to AEW. That got everybody's attention.
Oh,
What
I know.
was it?
I know.
I don't know, man, because I like to say
He
I
smashed
wasn't.
the throne, man, with the sledgehammer, bro.
He smashed the throne with the sledgehammer. Now,
Okay.
now,
yeah, I remember that.
Cody Rhodes is going to try to finish his story. What if it isn't Roman or The Rock that stops him, but Triple H? Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Look, man. I'm gonna tell you what. They need to go ahead and let Cody go ahead and finish the story. He needs to go ahead and win that title. I mean, the fans expect that. The fans want it,
and they can't wait another year, man.
They can't happen, but they're going to wait till they get to Madison Square Garden, where his daddy would have took it.
I'm not sure, but I know one thing is they can't afford any more chaos right now. Without everything that's rolling out, the way everything is being played with WWE, they need to get some sanity going on over there. And I think that right there will pretty much, I'm not going to say it's going to calm things down. It's just the way I look at it, Cody is the future of wrestling, man. He really is.
If they're going to give us sanity, man, we ain't going to have nothing to talk about on our shows, bro.
Hey, man, look. Sanity. If they give us sanity, what we're going to get is we're going to get storylines. Because right now, all we have is chaos. And hey,
man, this is what I want to see right there. That's what I want to see right there, man.
Oh,
yeah.
God. I want him out of the business, man. Straight up.
I think Harry has made a great point about Cody. If they're going to do it, I think now is probably the time and give the people a good little baby face run. Don't make it too long.
Right.
But that'll give you something hot to roll into SummerSlam and maybe even take it off of him then in a screw job. But they need to make the people happy right now because there's a lot of pissed off fans in WWE, you know.
And they can't wait another year on this, man. They got to go now. They have to.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. All right. Let's see. All right, where we at, Chris? I think Robert Brown, Dixie Carter buried the Pope. Okay, got that one. Robert Brown. Okay, Robert Brown. This best feud in '96 was NWO versus WCW. In Undertaker versus Mankind. Okay, yeah. But look, I didn't care for that WCW versus NWO thing because hey, we knew what the outcome was going to be of that, and I just didn't care for it. Robert Brown, Straight A Kennedy, McPimmon returned the favor for Stone Cold by bailing him out of jail in 01. All right, stack the beans. In 2022, my man D'Lo Brown said he wished the infamous parody from DX had not been included. Blackface. How do you guys feel about that, man? I can kind of understand. I understand what D'Lo Brown was saying. I mean, I do. Outside of that, as far as him being a performer, then hey, I'm gonna play on what his emotions were at that time. But yeah, I understand it from two different sides. But yeah, D'Lo Brown, D'Lo Brown, I'm gonna go with what his feelings were because, like I say, he was actually in that. So yeah, I'm
now I'm gonna give I'm gonna be the what words am I looking for here? Devil's advocate in this. You got to remember that was a time when DX had to push the envelope all the way to the edge. I mean, I wouldn't have expected anything less. Was it right? No.
but yeah.
Did they push the envelope?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they really pushed it, man.
And you know what? They did. They pushed it. And we was at a time where it basically a lot of those things was getting over, but wrestling still was on the edge of that. But it's a lot of things that you could do. Like I say, we wouldn't do it now.
DX parodied a lot of people back in the day too.
Yeah,
yeah, no doubt. All right.
They did. And I want to throw this in there real quick. That's a prime example of, again, things just being taken too far. Not only with the DX blackface, but also with what happened to Mankind and Undertaker with Mankind being thrown off the top of the cage. They were going too far, in my opinion, with numerous things that they did. And I know for me as a promoter at the time, trying to run shows and book shows and do family-oriented events, it made it very, very difficult on me at the time. So, I understood why they did what they did sometimes, but I oftentimes thought that they just took it too far, and it wasn't good for the business as a whole, in my opinion.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, because I mean, all the wrestlers at that time, like, ooh, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. What y'all think about this? What you think
Not
about
only that, but
And,
Mankind
you
put
know.
in his book that he thought that was the greatest match he'd ever had at that point till he got back in the locker room and he saw the next guys behind the curtain and he realized, oh crap, how are they going to beat that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I mean,
you're not going to beat that. I mean, nobody's going to go out there and throw themselves off 40 feet high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Started going to indie shows around that time. You know, Chris trying out, you know, or working with Brody Chase at that time. So going down to Brody Chase's show, his show was it was a WWE show. That's what it was. And so and they wasn't the only ones. All the indies that I was going to, pretty much, you know, besides a couple of them, was following that blueprint.
Because that's the part I'm really waiting on.
You know what? They was following that blueprint, and I didn't like that. And like Joe said, it hurt the business because, you know, him running a family show, trying to pretty much put the focus on that. Then you're gonna have, you know, maybe they enjoying it for the kids, the younger, but you're gonna have someone be like, okay, well, we saw this on TV. You know, why aren't you doing some of this? But you had people like Brody Chase. Like I say, Brody, you know, I like Brody, but Brody was trying to copy the same formula. And I told Chris, I said, man, this stuff is not gonna work. You cannot try to copy. And unfortunately, a lot of indies out here is still doing that. They're copying what they see on TV. Wrestling never gonna get back right if they continue to do that. If somebody can't rely and have enough faith that what they draw up is going to draw people, because I tell you what, the fans have gotten tired of that. Straight up, they have. Chaos rules the day. And since we
told you, hey, I've been saying it. Chaos rules wrestling. I've been trying to tell you that.
It does, but you can't really say that, man, when you go from we first came in, Chris. Well, like I say, when we started in June 2021, there was 5.3 million people watching WWE weekly programming. They down to 4.7, 4.8 million. Okay, there was 1.5 million, I think, that was watching. No, it was like 1.7 or 1.8, because you had what's the name will get between 900 to 1,200 AEW Dynamite. And then I think Rampage was getting, you know, when they first started, because they started out hot too, remember? They was getting like 1.8 million between their two programs. What they doing now? Between like 1.3 and 1.5. So it has dwindled. And I know cable TV, people, they're cutting the cords, they're doing stuff like that. But true wrestling fans, man, the hardcore wrestling fans, I guarantee you, 94% of them is sitting down watching TV on the screen, the big screen. They just do. They'll go and they'll watch clips online, and they'll watch a little bit of stuff on YouTube. But most of them, if they're watching it on YouTube, they put it on their TV so they can see it on the big screen. But, you know, chaos does not rule the day, man. Chaos is a mess. And that's all it is to it. It's a mess, and it's something that's used, in my opinion, for you to forget. If something's not working, then they try to make you forget about all the stuff that was bad before. They throw a whole bunch of chaos out there and say, okay, this right here will make them not even think about that. And all you be thinking about is, hey, how are they gonna solve all this chaos? This person got jumped, that person got jumped. You having people getting jumped, man, and don't make no kind of sense. When are we gonna come back to the point where, you know, it's athletic competition where people are able to win a match and they walk out of a match? Now, of course, we had it when I was growing up in the 70s. We had it in the 80s too.
What I say, Scott? What I say, Scott?
Oh, I don't care, Chris. You can't have attacks every match, man. You know that.
What we did in AEW.
Here's a question I have for you, Harry, and for everybody on the panel here. I had a show about this, and I know you guys. I believe you guys were on that show. You guys said a few things too. I had a show that asked, "Has wrestling ran out of ideas?" I mean, seriously, you're talking about, well, everybody's just running in, chaos. Well, what else is there? I mean, think of the last few things that really blew up in professional wrestling. NWO, you know, things like that. It was new, it was fresh, it was, you know, but when's the last time you saw something totally fresh on television, man? I mean, totally blew your mind, never seen it before, never would have thought about it.
You always can be innovative. A person that's and I hate to say this, man, and it's a booker should be like an artist.
But I think when it comes down to today, and Joe might, disagree with me. I'd love to hear his take on this. Right now, and you see it in the Indies all the time, man. And I know you were making a reference to that, but it's to the point, and I see it in the Indies all the time, man. These owners are just throwing 50 things up against the wall, and they hope something sticks. If something sticks, then they follow it up. And that's the same way it's on TV, man. It's the same thing.
Man, it's a lack of creativity. Joe, I'm gonna get to you in just a moment. Scott, look, man.
I agree with you.
I produce music. I had a record company, okay? Fresh School Productions. I produce music. I'm a writer. I write music. I write, I write songs. I write, and Chris, no. How many songs I have, Chris? Just how many songs I have. I'm very creative. I'm a very creative person. Not everybody creative, but people are out there. People have that talent. And man, I'm always coming up with new ideas. I'm always coming up with new songs. I'm still at 57, man. I'm still writing songs like when I was in my 20s. When I was a teenager, I still can write songs. I still can write on different topics. I write on several different topics. As a pastor, man, I preached on several different topics. You just your mind got to keep working. Your mind got to keep working. And that's one thing. It's lazy booking. I'm sorry. If you're gonna sit here and tell me that you don't ran out of ideas in wrestling, you can't come up with nothing fresh, then I'm sorry. You can't do it. Get somebody else in there to help you do it. That's the way I look at it. Get somebody else in there to help you do it. Because look, everybody gets stale. Everybody has writer's block. I will say that everybody comes to a point where they stop. But you need to get people in there that know how to do it. And there's a lot of people out here that could get in there and would know how to write. I've heard podcasters get on here. I mean, on certain podcasts I went through and heard great ideas. But can he do it consistently? Consistent? Can he be consistent on it? I don't know, Scott. I don't know. But I do look at it as being a lot of lazy booking. But I'm gonna go with Joe on this because he's been in this game a lot longer than any of us have, as far as on that side of the business, as far as on the indies and doing it. He's basically been doing it professional. So Joe, what you think about all this, man? What Scott's talking about?
I think, first off, Scott made a great point as far as exactly what have you seen new and exciting that just kind of grabbed your attention. And that's a great point. And it's hard to answer that question. I sat here and thought about it, and it's really true. I think one thing that's wrong is there's just too much stories. How many wrestling weddings can we have? How many conflicts can we have over girlfriends? Basically all you need is a protagonist and an antagonist and the conflict and whatever it is that they're after, be it money, be it a championship. But I think part of what's wrong is even some overwriting. Just let the guys or the girls, have their matches and let the rivalries develop between them as personalities. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have the two girls fighting over the guy with the title over here. Just keep it simple, keep it basic. I mean, that's all you need is simple storylines to keep fire going, and just throw a little fire on it or a little more gas on the fire ever so often to heat things up, and then give the people their payoff and give them the payoff match, where the babyface finally wins that championship, like what may happen with Cody at WrestleMania. But then the question always is in wrestling is, where do we go from here? All right. Yeah. So where do we go? Once Cody wins that belt at WrestleMania, where does he go? Where does he get catapulted into a feud with someone else? Or does he have 3 or 4 different people coming at him from different perspectives? But that's one thing I think a lot of bookers don't think about is that simple phrase, where do we go from here? What's next?
Yeah, he's going to be the baby. Who's the next big heel that's going to take it from him?
Like I said, man, you playing checkers, you playing chess, not checkers. You got to be like 7 moves ahead, man. Your process of thinking.
My whole thing is this. I go back to old school, and hey, call me an old guy or whatever. I go back to old school. Every time wasn't just in wrestling, it was in boxing, so many different things. The person who lose the world championship, what was great about losing the world championship back then, like you said, look, we got Cody. This is a build-up. Cody and Roman, it's a build-up. Even though they're not wrestling each other week in and week out, when Rick Steamboat, okay, I'm gonna go all the way back to Dory Funk Jr. When he lost that world championship belt, he became he lost it. I think he lost to Jack Briscoe first or Harley Race. He became the number one contender. And then, like I say, Harley Race beat him for a couple months. Then next thing you know, Jack Briscoe was the number one contender for Harley Race. He was coming up. Okay, then after Jack Briscoe took the title away from Harley Race, who became the number one contender? Harley Race. Okay. And Jack Briscoe, Terry Funk took it out for him, who became the number one contender. Jack Briscoe.
What's the big difference between, you got to think about it this way too. What's the big difference between back then and now? Back then, there was only 4 channels you could watch, and that's where you got your wrestling.
Of course.
Nowadays, you've got social media. You've got 7,000 channels out there. You've got 20 different networks who is battling to get the product because they know better than this guy does, and this guy knows better than that guy does. And it's hard to compete in today. I mean, the indies should show you that. I mean, we're going around all these local shows. Half these guys don't even know how to use social media to brand themselves.
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true. That's true. That's true.
Back then, yeah, it was a big deal when the championships changed hands because that's all they had. I mean, I hate to be like this, but everybody who watched wrestling back then had blinders on because that's all they saw that was on TV. Now with social media, we know the backgrounds, we know what they do in real life. Oh yeah,
we do. Yeah,
the fourth wall has been torn down. I mean, like I said, ideas, realism has come into professional wrestling to the point where kayfabe, I can't remember other than the Undertaker, the last person that truly from beginning to end was totally kayfabe.
Yeah. The thing about this is, as far as losing kayfabe being thrown out the window is way I see wrestling. You can't miss. Now. Your storyline's got to be so intriguing. I mean, your shows have to be great. You can't miss because people know they are watching a scripted show. So to really attract the general public back to wrestling, or the real hardcore casual fan back into wrestling, man, your show's got to be great. And that's speaking of WWE and AEW, you cannot miss. You cannot you cannot have mediocre shows, man.
It is, man. Yeah, we way off track over here,
of course
guys.
we are. Well, yeah, we are. No doubt about that. Chris, you helped out with that. All right.
You're welcome.
All right.
But it's good conversation, though. Great conversation.
It's great conversation, and I appreciate that. Hey, Chris, this always happens. Like I say, it would have been better if we would have did a video, probably, guys. But hey, we appreciate it, man. We're not against any of you guys on here live, man. Hey, we're glad that you joined us, and we're glad to have a conversation with you guys. You're taking us in a different direction, but that's okay too. Well, yeah, we'll get back to what we're talking about. But let's go ahead and get off the rest of these comments. All right. Robert Brown, John Cena should have put Bobby Lashley over at the Great American Bash. All right. Robert said, speaking of LA Knight, I hear Usher might perform, for him.
Man, you missed Robert Brown, man. You missed his comment. You missed missing comments, man.
No, man. Look, who did I miss? Because
Robert Brown was getting bigger pop than Hulk Hogan in 10.
Who said that?
Robert Brown. Before the LA Knight comment.
See, I don't have on mine. It says message retracted, and then it goes to speaking of LA Knight. I hear Usher. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
it said on mine message retracted.
Harry's got his cryptic.
Yeah.
There in front of it.
Robert Brown says Mark Henry said Xbox cried when they told him what blackface meant. Oh wow.
And I could see that, man. I could see that, because a lot of people, depending on the time you were raised and how you were raised and what you were told growing up, you do not know a lot about American history according to how you were raised and who told you what.
Well, that's true. Well, Mark Henry, is he in his 50s? He's in his 50s, right? Gotta be.
At least.
You know, I would have thought he would have knew, you know, what it meant.
No, X-Pac, man, X-Pac.
Oh,
Mark Henry
X-Pac.
told X-Pac what it meant.
Okay, okay, X-Pac. I'm sorry about that. Wow. Well, X-Pac, yeah, that's true. X-Pac, he might have not have known, might have known. I don't know. Like I say, that's crazy. All right, Robert Brown, the Pope, was getting a bigger pop in 10 than Hulk Hogan. Okay, Robert Brown, pro wrestling in the late 90s was the best.
Yeah.
Very good at that time. Robert Brown, did y'all ever watch Omega, where the Hardy Boys originally started? And imagine if they got a TV deal.
I don't know, Joe. Did you know anything about that? That's around your area.
Yes, sir, I did. I knew Matt and Jeff Hardy when they were first breaking in the business. Jeff was probably about 15, I guess, when I met him, and Matt, you know, was a couple years older. They came. I used to run shows down in Wilmington, North Carolina, down on the coast, and
right.
I was running family-oriented shows at carnivals and amusement parks and that type of thing when I first met Matt and Jeff, and they were great guys. And but yeah, they started running Omega Wrestling, and they were doing it at the fair there in their hometown, and but they were great guys, and Omega had an incredible lineup of talent, because you had Matt and Jeff Hardy, you had Shane Helms, you had Champagne, you had Joey Abs from the Mean Street Posse. He wrestled as Venom back then. Joey Mercury was in that group. I mean, just an incredible pool of young talent. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to know those guys back then. And the last show that Matt and Jeff Hardy worked for me would have been in 1998 when we were doing a tour for Easy Rider magazine. The kickoff show of that tour in '98 was the last one that they worked for me, and before they went to WWE. So I saw those kids go from, you know, teenagers just getting going, you know, into their early 20s, you know, when they signed and went big, and you know, it was fantastic. It was great memories there.
Yeah, man, great. Man, that joke is so talented, man. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was very exciting for you. All right, Robert Brown, HBT, did you ever produce any one that made it big? You know, Robert, I mean, you know, you got to go with Joe there. I mean, Chris and I, we done ran across people that made it big or now making it into the industry big. I'm sure Joe has worked with a lot of people, made it big. And of course, our man Danny Paris did. But yeah, Robert, this is something that me and Chris basically now are getting on the side of this. And we're going to run, I think we're running 4 or 5 shows this year that we're pretty much producing ourselves. Booking the shows and pretty much sponsoring the shows, putting the money behind it.
And you missed another comment too, Harry. That Apple's messing up on you, man.
No, man, look, it's not on my tablet. That's all I'm saying. Look, I will get to that in just a moment. Let's finish what I have in front of me. All right, Ray Underwood said, what are y'all thoughts on the wrestler Kamala when he was wrestling? Yeah, Kamala will come into play into this. But yeah, Kamala was very good, but let's see. What did I miss, Chris? Go ahead and get that. But
Robert Brown asked Scott Larson, what is the name of your YouTube channel, Scott Larson?
# Truth Wrestling Podcast.
There you
He's
go.
on YouTube, Facebook.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely check him out. Yeah, Scott's great. He interviewed a lot of indie wrestlers and things like that. But yeah, Scott is
all
great,
over the nation too, man.
Yeah. All right, let's see. And we got anything else?
That's it. That's it.
I want to get to the indie wrestlers, man. Let's get to some of these black indie
wrestlers,
man. I've been chopping at the bit for this.
All right, first, like I said, I'm gonna get back into the mid 70s. Tiger Conway Jr. Those are the next 2 black wrestlers I saw. Tiger Conway, great competitor. That's the father of Tiger Conway. But Tiger Conway Jr. is the guy. He had a great feud back in '75 when Ric Flair came back from the plane crash. I'll never forget the feud that he had with him and Ric Flair. Tiger Conway's son, Tiger Conway Jr., pretty much elevated Jr. and it elevated Ric Flair. But they had a pretty good long feud over there in the Mid-Atlantic area. Do you remember that, Joe?
I do remember Tiger Conway Jr. and he always put up a tremendous matchup. Didn't always win them, but he was always a very exciting competitor, and the fans got behind him.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, he him and Ric Flair, man, they put together some of the best matches. I mean, Flair was just a star. He put together, he had great matches against a lot of people, but some of his best, I think in the 70s, his best was against Tiger Conway Jr. As far as young guys go, Tiger Conway and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Well, it was Ricky Steamboat, just Ricky Steamboat at that time. But those matches was incredible. Of course, Ric Flair ended up feuding with Paul Jones and Black Jack Mulligan later on, even though Black Jack was his friend for such a long time. But Tiger Conway Jr. really impressed me. And then pretty much, he didn't disappear or anything like that. Later on in the 80s, he started the jive. He was in the jive tones with Pistol Pez Watley. They was pretty funny. Shaska Watley. But the jive tones, that was a good tag team. But out of 82, 83, I think Tiger Conway Jr., man, he pretty much disappeared. But in my opinion, he had one of the best runs probably of, 7 to 8 years of any black wrestler of all time, in my opinion. He's not the best, but he had one of the best runs. It was a short run, but it was a great run. His dad was great. Now, I didn't really see his dad a lot. Now, Danny could talk. Danny, had a big history on his dad. But I saw his dad a little bit. His dad was pretty much on the tail end of his career at that time when Junior was starting over there in Mid-Atlantic. But that's something I wanted to go ahead and get into. But yeah, Scott, we're going to talk about some of these black wrestlers, man.
Wait a minute. We got to do one more big time wrestler, because you haven't mentioned him the whole night, and we got to talk about the very first black hardcore wrestler. Come on now, we haven't talked about him.
Oh God.
Abdullah, come on now.
Oh, Abdullah. Oh,
Butcher.
yeah.
Abdullah.
We ain't talking about New Jack. We're not going New Jack. We're going Abdullah. We're going real wrestling.
New Jack. I'm gonna say don't do it. Don't do it.
No. Abdullah, man, come on now.
Abdullah was outstanding, man. Outstanding. Incredible. And look, I don't think he lost a match like 20-something years. From somewhere into the 60s until 80, where he lost to Tony Atlas in the Omni, I think in 1983 or 1982. I think he went 20 years, man, without losing a match. Yeah, Abdullah.
Wow, that long.
He was incredible, man.
Man, when I saw Abdullah, man, he was just.
I've got Abdullah up on my other computer screen here. Let me read just a small paragraph what they say about Abdullah.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
If there was a legendary wrestler in a promotion, Abdullah, in his 53-year career, that's just amazing right there. Which is still going. He's kind of down in he's kind of I think he's in a wheelchair now. Last time I saw him, I think he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
he said, listen to this. Has beaten them. Bruiser Brody, Mick Foley, Carlos Colon, Jumbo Saruta, The Sheik, Terry Funk, Billy Robinson, Ivan Koloff. He's faced every one of these legends in many nations and beat them all.
Oh, yeah. Man, anytime you wanted a problem, solved, if you was a heel, you wanted a problem solved, you called Abdullah. Abdullah was
and I loved his run in EC Dub. My goodness, man, they had some matches when he was in EC Dub. I did not
watch that.
Harry didn't watch no EC Dub.
Look, listen.
What?
As much as I love Abdullah, I'm gonna say it like this: ECW, with the chaos that was going on over there, and me knowing Abdullah the Butcher already, and the things he was gonna be able to do in ECW, you think I was gonna watch that? Man, no, I wasn't gonna watch that. Abdullah was a wild man. I mean, hey, really thought he was from Sudan now, okay?
Come on,
now,
man.
Abdullah
One of the greatest minds in professional wrestling ran that company, and you didn't watch it? Come on.
Greatest minds? Okay.
I said one of the greatest minds. One.
Okay.
One of the greatest minds. Come on.
I got to speak up for Harry. I got to speak up in agreement with Scott. Okay. I got to speak up in agreement with you, Harry. I didn't much care for ECW either. And I'll tell you primarily why. Is, again, in that time frame, I was trying to promote independent wrestling, family oriented events.
Right.
And it made it very, very difficult because the first thing a sponsor would say to me is, oh, well, you're with the WWE kind of product and you got half naked women on there and blood, guts,
yeah.
gore, and violence. And they would say the same thing about ECW.
Yes.
I appreciate what ECW was. It met a market and it did very well. But from a promoter's perspective, I go back to what I said before about where do you go from here? Where could ECW go? What are they going to do next? Have a beheading match?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. I mean,
where do you go from here?
ECW, I agree with you in this, that ECW was exactly what they were branded to be. They were a hardcore wrestling. And they were just, tables, chairs, whatever. Every wrestler had to be tough. It was what it was. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best thing since sliced bread, but some great wrestlers came out of there.
There's no doubt about it.
Everybody except Shane Douglas.
I don't like Shane either, Chris. I can't stand him. We talked about it earlier. I can't stand him, man.
When he threw away the NWA title, he lost all my respect.
Yes.
He lost my respect way before then.
I lose respect for anybody who does that with a title.
Right.
Period.
Right. But man, look, ECW. I remember when it first started, East Coast Wrestling. I remember that, and this was before Heyman got his hands on it. I liked it. Okay. They wasn't doing that. They was drawing like 3,000 people, 4,000. I think 3,000, getting up to 4,000 people. They was really, doing some great things. And then next thing you know, he sold the business. I think he sold it to somebody else before he sold it to Heyman. Then Heyman came and got a hold of it. And Heyman, it really shocked me, man. It really shocked me because I didn't think Heyman was like this. I didn't think he had any part of this. But I can understand. Heyman was trying to do something to grab a new market, to try to pull, he was trying to pull market share. So look, I can't hate on him for that. He was trying to pull market share. Do I think that was actually Paul Heyman? No, I do not. I think it's wrestlers that he got involved with and people like that to bring all that chaos into that. I don't think Paul Heyman actually was doing that. I think Paul Heyman had people around him say, let's do this. And that is going to bring in the fans, man. That's going to bring in the money.
Think about this.
What he did.
Around that time, what was getting big overseas? Japanese death matches.
Oh, yeah.
There was a niche of wrestling fans that were big into Japanese death matches and the shock value that it brought over there. And obviously somebody got in Heyman's ear, said, hey, man,
no doubt,
bring a little bit of that element over to your promotion. And it's something that really hadn't been done. I mean, yeah, you see people get thrown in the crowd. You see people get hit with the chairs and the ring posts and all that. But let's bring a little bit of Japan death matches elements to the United States and see what happens. And guess what? You got a whole lot of people attention and they loved it because you do have those blood, guts, and gore fans. That's what they clamor for. And you're building toward that market. And like you said, Paul knew, because he's such a great mind, Paul knew, okay, I can't do this all the time. Let me just slow it down a little bit. Let me do something else that ain't nobody seen in the United States. Let me bring over the Mexican wrestlers, the luchadors, the Rey Mysterios, the Psychosis, the Silver Kings, the La Parkas. Let me bring those guys over. And he did. And a lot of those guys got over and got their start in ECW. Yeah. So, I mean, ECW, like I said, it has its place in history, good, bad, or otherwise.
There's no doubt about it. Like I say, it just was not for me. It was not for me. It never would be for me.
And I'm sorry, my favorite wrestling announcer outside of CCW, Styles, man. There was nobody better. I'm sorry. That dude, when he got excited, you watched the match. I don't care what you were doing. You stopped. You could be walking out of the room, going to the bathroom. If he started screaming, you turned right around and looked right back at that TV.
All I can really say is
Styles was the man. I'm just
all
saying.
I can say is this. You got to be a serious. Now, I love wrestling. But, man, you had to be a serious wrestling fanatic. You will have to be one of these guys who will crawl through the smallest space, man. I'm talking about between concrete and between a concrete wall. You will go through. You will put your hand in there and they say, hey, look, it's gonna shock you once you get it at the end. This hole might close up. But man, you had to be that kind of fan to sit there and watch ECW week after week, to want to watch that. You had to be that serious, man.
I guess I
you
was.
guys are hard.
I'm telling you, I guess I had my hand on the electric fence because I was all over it. In fact, again, I watched it all. I watched, I watched it all. I was a fan of it all. But man,
you had
like
to watch.
I said, ECW had its place in my heart, man.
But
really
I can understand, man. Like, you have to walk over hot coals to get something like that, man.
I'm just going back to Abdullah, man. Going back to Abdullah. When I was at Staples, man, Abdullah was hailed from Sudan and all that, the madman from Sudan. How about I was at Staples on the register one day. I see this gentleman come through. It's probably about 6'2". And I hear his accent when he's talking to me. And I'm like, I can't picture your accent. Where are you from? And guess what he says? Sudan. He was literally from Sudan. Nice. So I had to ask. Y'all know where it's going. I had to ask. I was like, have you ever heard? I'm like, you may not watch wrestling, but have you ever heard of Abdullah the Butcher? He's like, no, don't ring a bell. I remember some wrestlers, but that don't ring a bell. And I was like, well, he's from Sudan. They call him the madman from Sudan.
If you brought a gentleman into professional wrestling and the first person you saw him, the first person he saw was Abdullah the Butcher, you just scared that man away from wrestling for the rest of his life.
And he was like, and it was so funny because he was like, Abdullah, he's like, no, I don't know. I was like, well, look him up. He's like, I'll do that. He's like, I remember some wrestlers, but yeah, I don't remember no Abdullah from Sudan. No, I was born and raised there. I don't remember no.
Abdullah probably never been to the Sudan, Chris.
But I just had to ask, man. I had to. I couldn't resist it, man.
All right, man. We're gonna get to Joe in just a minute, but let me go and run with these comments. David Madge. I never seen you, David. David, glad to join the Shredder Wrestling family. David said, I saw Bubba and D-Von the last time they tag team at a house show before they were split during the Raw and SmackDown draft. They faced the Hardys in a tornado tag. Let's see. All right, Chris, where in the world is that? I'm going to go back. I'm going to read it from here.
I remember that match. That was a good match.
Yeah, I remember that. And then David Madge says, we lost Harry. He must have kicked himself off. He said round 2. David Madge, maybe even number 01. Okay, and there's Harry. He's back.
Okay.
Kick yourself off, man.
Yeah, I hit something, man, and it knocked me off. Okay.
All right. Jeff Samuel says, what's up, Scott? How do you feel about Ernie Ladd back then? Scott, there you go. There's your question.
Oh man, Ernie Ladd. Wow.
The big cat, the king.
You probably want to ask Joe about that, and you can ask me.
Yeah, Joe would probably be better off to answer that Joe. Because I'm going to say the name. You're probably going to kill me for this, but the name sounds familiar, but it's not ringing a bell.
Oh wow, man! Wow.
It's not ringing a bell.
Okay. He's the big cat, Ernie Ladd. He also was very, very instrumental in helping Bill Watts when he was running the UWF down there in New Orleans. So Ernie was a great booker. But he was, I remember him a lot feuding with Dusty Rhodes, and Ernie would tape up his thumb. And he'd tape that thumb up, and he'd use it kind of like Kevin Sullivan would use the Asiatic spike, or kind of like Sikoa uses the Samoan spike in it.
Yes,
right.
But,
Ernie was
that leg drop. Hogan got that leg drop from Ernie.
Yes, sir.
And we all know the funny story too. Not cut you off about. Go ahead.
No, okay, but no, Ernie.
I feel stupid. I know who Ernie Ladd is now. I just didn't.
Ernie Ladd, in my opinion,
you good, Scott.
If not the number one black wrestler ever. And I know, Chris, you like to say Ron Simmons. You want to throw him in there because he won a world title and everything like that. But in my opinion, Ron Simmons still haven't eclipsed the accomplishments of Ernie Ladd, Tony Atlas, those guys. Ernie the Cat Ladd, man, that guy was flipping incredible. Incredible football player, was an incredible wrestler. Only thing slowed him down in wrestling, and it was a great booker, like my man Joe said. Only thing slowed him down in wrestling was his knees. I started watching Ernie Ladd.
Football injuries, man.
Yeah, football injuries. Because look, he's 6'9", man. They couldn't stop him at the line. Only way you can stop him is cut him at the knees, and that's what he did for 10 years in the NFL. He was great. They didn't record sacks back then, because if they did, he'd probably be still in the top 3 as far as sack leaders. But man, that guy was incredible. But he started watching and wrestling. And you remember the old IWA, right, Joe?
I don't believe I did. IWA was Randy Savage's dad?
No, not that. When you talk about the IWF, I think with that IWA had Mil Mascaras, he was their world champion. Had Ernie Ladd, he was in that. Cowboy Bob Ellis was in the group in that. There, Bulldog Bob Brown was there. You had Gino Brito and Dino Bravo. Great tag team. The Mongols, man, they was just great. Brito and whatever I can't think of the names, Beto and Gito or whatever. They was great. But you don't remember that? You don't remember that organization?
Vaguely. I recognize several of the names that you mentioned there, but I don't know a whole lot of the history of that group.
Oh yeah, gosh, man, it was incredible. And they was the first ones who actually went national. They was the first national brand. WWE wasn't the first national brand. Jim Crockett pretty much shut them down. They opened their operations, started in Cleveland, Ohio in 1975. And they made their way. They was going across the nation. They made their way to the Carolinas. And they was running out of the old textile building, textile hall, Chris, while Jim Crockett was running Greenville Memorial Auditorium. But they got so popular here, they was running live shows here, and then they started running TV tapes out of the textile hall, Greenville Textile Hall. They wanted the auditorium. So they went up there, and Crockett, he banned them. He blocked them from the auditorium. A lot of things.
Too early for that, Chris, man. Too early for that.
Sorry, man.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and then he blocked them from, because they tried to go to Spartanburg. They started filming at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. He went and told Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium, if you're gonna have them, you can't have Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And Mid-Atlantic was huge back then. So they stopped running them in Spartanburg at that show. So, and then he started following them around the country, Mid-Atlantic, and started running shows across the street from them. And then he started stealing their talent.
That's where you get that mess from, man. You be talking about all the time, man.
Yeah, Jim Crockett, he first one started that. What's the name had about the whole library? It's on it's a lot of shows I would like to do as far as do a lot of the shows on our show and talk about it, man, because they have about the whole library on YouTube. But IWA was really good. But that's where instant replay was first seen in wrestling. Then Jim Crockett took it from them, and then WWE got it from us. They saw it and then they did it. But they was the first one did it. A lot of innovations came from them. But yeah, Jim Crockett beat him in a antitrust thing or whatever in court. He did it. So he did it.
He put him out of business, basically. He put him out of business.
He put him out of business. Yes, he put him out of business.
And
we all around 78, 70, I think 79. They folded out for 4 years. But it was a great organization, man. Had great wrestlers. And, I loved it. But
speaking of and Ernie Ladd, man, we all know the story with him and Cowboy Bill Watson, Junkyard Dog. We all heard that story.
Please don't get into that story, man.
Man, you come on, Harry. Junkyard Dog just came in, and Watts was like, "Hey, I got this new guy, Sylvester Riddle, man. He looks like a piece of gold, man. I can make some money off this guy." And he's like, "Hey, Ernie, I want you to take him in the ring and see what he can do." Ernie came back probably about an hour or 2 hours later. It's like, he ain't worth a damn. He can't do nothing, man. He his own feet. He over there. We wasn't even working 2 minutes. He up there sucking air, throwing up everywhere. He's horrible. Get him out of here. And Bill Watts is like, "What you mean, man?" He's like, "Man, he's horrible. Man, how you can't make no money with this joke? He's out of shape. And he's like, "Ernie, I said, see what he can do is good. I didn't say go just kill the boy." He's like, and it was so funny because Watts was like, I still went ahead and put Junkyard over, but if he would have did everything that Ernie said he would did, I would have fired him and Ernie.
yeah.
But
Look, man.
Chris, I'm glad you said that, because we're gonna have to have a whole nother show on what I'm about to say. But what you just said proves a huge point too about today's wrestling. Do you think that any of the guys on the WWE, AEW, now I'm not talking about the old school guys, I'm talking about the new guys that have been in wrestling for the last 10, just got in the last 10, 15 years. Do you think that they could have went through the training that them guys back, the guys that Harry talks about, the 70s, that in the 60s and the 50s, them guys, I'm talking about, they ran you till you puked. You did squats till you puked. You did it. Nowadays, I mean, you seen when they first started doing NXT. I mean, these guys were barely doing 100 push-ups, man. That was like the first hour of training for some of these guys back in the day. I mean, that's one thing that's missing in professional wrestling too.
I mean, and some of the training I went through with Brody Chase, man. Harry tell you about, they was dragging all of us, man. They were running.
About to die. His first week of practice, boy, he was about to die. I never forget.
And I was in decent shape. Man. I mean, they were dragging all of us, man. It was, oh my God, it was rough.
But Joe, I think Joe wanted to say something. Joe, go ahead and expound on that, man.
Well, I'll guarantee you, training with Brody Chase was tough, and I'll tell you why it was tough, because Brody Chase is old school, and he was going to put you. He was going to put you through the ringer. He was going to push you to your limits, and he was going to break you down and really see how bad you wanted it.
Yes,
and that's what that was the mentality back then. It was that when I first broke in and started to wrestle and train, that was what they wanted to do. Was they wanted to push you to where you wouldn't come back unless you really, really wanted it. You had to show how damn bad you wanted it in order to get it back then. And in a lot of cases, the guys, they went too far, and there's been a lot of stories of that where people got money taken and we got pushed too far. But even at the accredited schools like Nelson Royal and Gene Anderson, when they ran their school for the NWA, the first hour was doing push-ups, the next hour was doing sit-ups, the next hour was doing 1,000 squats, and then you go run 5 miles, because they wanted to push you to your limit.
If you guys have Netflix, go on Netflix and watch the interview documentary that they did with Ric Flair. And the part where he talks about his training when he first got into professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. He had to carry people up the stairs on his back, up and down, back 4 flights of stairs. And I'm sitting there watching that going, man, I couldn't go up 3 stairs, much less 3 flights of stairs.
Hey, if Vern saw talent in you, and you thought you was quitting, Vern wouldn't let you quit. Rick thought he was gonna quit. And he thought
that was in there too. He actually ran down Ric Flair and slapped him right out in the parking lot. Said, in my car, you coming back?
I mean, Rick said he was at home, man, had his Converse kicked up, man. You know what I'm saying? He had his Chuck Taylors kicked up. Hey, he's relaxing on the bed or whatever. Hey, forget about this. This ain't for me. But hey, like you said,
that's
Vern
the way
Gunny
they trained back then, and that's what made them special. I mean. Yeah. Even Vince McMahon, Senior and Junior, whether you love him or hate him,
right?
They knew the body type, the look, the factor, the training.
They had the eye, man. They had the eye, man. They definitely had the eye for it, man. But
I'll tell you this.
Joe, what about also,
well, I was going to throw this in about training also real quick. And back in the mid 90s, when I was down in Wilmington and I was training guys and running shows and stuff, Wilmington is very close to Jacksonville, North Carolina, where the Marine Corps base is, and Camp Lejeune, and we would have Marines come down and want to train and want to learn the business. And I probably, in the course of a couple of years, I probably had a half a dozen of them come down. And I heard the same thing come out of just about every one of them. This is tougher than basic training. They all cuss, this is tougher than basic training. I'm like, yeah, we intend it to be, because we don't want to waste our time on you if you're not 100% into this.
Wow. Minus the weapons and the swimming, I would put the training back then up against Navy SEALs and Coronado. I would. I seriously would.
Yeah, I can see
it
that.
was that tough. I bet it was that because everybody who talks about it, man. I mean,
it's hardcore, man. It's hardcore from what I saw. And look,
a
lot of things that I saw, as far as when Chris was training under Brody Chase. It reminded me, and of course, guys, like I say, I'm not trying to brag.
And I don't want people to think I'm busting on my brothers and sisters in the military. I'm ex-military, so I love every one of them, and thank you for doing what you do. Right. But I'm just saying, the training is almost the same, except for the weapons and, like I said, the swimming.
Yeah,
so, absolutely, it is very intense.
I was part of the 1984 Olympic trials boxing team. Now, I got a scholarship to play football at USC, so they didn't let me finish the training. So, not the training, as far as the trials, okay? I could have ended up being on the team. I was one of the alternates for the team.
Did you say 1984?
1984, yes.
I was in middle school playing baseball, batting .209, so.
All right, I was in high school. I was 17, but I made the Olympic trials, okay, for Golden Gloves. Oh, all right, but the training was so intense. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Right. You would not believe it.
I believe it.
It was flat out crazy. But wrestling, what I saw in wrestling and some of those training schools, it was very close to that. And so in boxing, you're going through some serious punishment. In wrestling, of course, you are too. You got to take them bumps and all that stuff. So man,
that first bump is
exactly. So
I think today's wrestling, and people might kill me for saying this, but I think today's wrestling is more charisma than it was body type, and I think back then it was more body type than it was charisma.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, man, you went and looked for your wrestlers.
Right.
Today, wrestlers look for, they look for the training places. They look and see how they can get into the business. Of course, you had wrestlers, people did that back in the day, but you had a lot of wrestlers who came to the business, never saw a wrestling match before in their life. Lex Luger never watched. He didn't watch it. Paul Orndorff didn't watch it. So a lot of these guys did not watch, and they was asked.
And some people, some fans out there look at people like Logan Paul and think, "Oh man, if Logan can do it, anybody can do it."
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. Logan Paul trains his butt off.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He's a serious athlete. Him and his brother, man. They're athletic. Doesn't mean that I still like him being a champion, but hey, I can't sit here and say that he's not athletic, man. They both athletic.
That's the business part of it, Harry. That's the business part of it.
It is, man. 5 million
people watching every day on YouTube, man. Come on.
I know, man, but I'm still one of these people. I mean, if you're going to be in the business, in my opinion, that I go back to the old school. I need to see you every week or every other week. I need to see you in wrestling. That's just me. So I'm not into this part-time wrestling. Wrestlers or anything like that. Man, let's get back.
I got a quick question. I got a quick question I want to ask Chris. When you were training with Brody, did he make you take body slams on the ring without any padding?
No.
Good God, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Matter of fact, funny story. He still calls me
first slam, boy.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know he's old school, and that was an old school thing. Was you'd roll that padding off and you get slammed right on the wood.
Yeah, man. See, here's the thing with Brody, man. I'm doing my training. I told Scott this, and I'm doing my training. I'm doing my drills and everything. And the whole time he's up here talking about, man, I've been doing this for 40-something years. I ain't got what I want out of this business yet. And I'm just like, what in the devil is he talking about as I'm doing these drills? So we get to the point where we getting ready to take a back bump. Now, unbeknownst to me, a concrete floor is softer than the ring Brody likes to train in and wrestle in. So that gives you an idea right there. So he tells me how to take the back bump. He does it a couple of times. And as people, we know falling back without bracing yourself is not a natural thing to do, because you automatically want to brace yourself, just automatically when you're falling backwards. So I do it a couple of times. I brace myself. He's like, no, you can't brace yourself. I'm like, okay. So I finally do it. And I get up there, man, and I'm probably about 4 or 5 feet in the air. I hit, bah! And I'm just like, And he comes over, he's looking at me, he's looking down, he's like, that's it. That's what I've been waiting for 40 years. I've been waiting on the face. And I'm just stuck there like,
I thought you was gonna die, Chris. Straight up.
Hey,
when
Chris,
you first got body slammed, the first one, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like,
man.
I was like, are you okay, man? Because my first intention was, Chris, being the guy I am. Hey, these guys slamming me down like this. Hey, it's time to come up fight. I remember when you went down, that look on your face. And they picked you up. Okay, pick you up, toss you over to the rope, hit you with a clothesline, man. I'm just like, what in the world's going on? Chris was getting killed out there, guys.
Did you pay for that training, Chris?
Yes, I did. I did.
You could have gave me that. You could have gave me that money, and I would have told you just get in your car, find the nearest brick wall, and go 40 miles an hour right into it. You would have got the same exact feeling.
They told Chris, we'll see you tomorrow, man. We'll see you tomorrow.
Man, I did, but like I said, I had no idea, man. And Brody's like, yeah, that's what I've been waiting on. That's what I'm like, man. And I haven't seen Brody in years, and I saw him a couple of years ago, maybe about 2 years ago. And like I said, I ain't seen Brody in a while, and I was like, Brody, he's like, what's up, man? I was like, long time no see, how you been? He's like, I've been good. Teaching at Berea High School, and and I'm running shows down in Georgia. I do a big Comic-Con down in Georgia, so I'm pretty good. I was like, okay. And he was, and like I said, it's been a while, and I've got some gray hairs. I'm not as young as I used to be. And he's like, wait a minute, face? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. It's me.
Chris, I would have hated to seen the expression on your face after that moment for the first person that looked at you and said, wrestling's fake.
Man. Man, Scott, you probably wouldn't be talking to me. I'll still be in jail right now for murder.
I didn't think Chris was gonna go back there. I didn't think did Dre go with us?
I love it.
No, Dre didn't go. Dre didn't go.
And the next day, it was the second day I took you down there. I didn't think you were gonna go back. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to go back? We went, and then we went again the next day after that. I was like, man, Chris was like, it's killing me, man. He had to run it. I think the second day he ran.
Yeah, I had to run around the building 5 times before I got in the ring.
And you know what? I was telling Chris to do all this extra stuff before he went out there. Before he went on the second day, I'm like, look, man, you got to get in better shape. You need to do this. You need to do that. Because, that's one thing that we did, man, as far as boxing. We went home and trained. We went home and did more training because sometimes you have to overtrain to get your body. But Chris was so wore out, man, that training. I'm like, man, they're basically killing you, man.
Harry, I won't do this anymore, Chris. I promise. But you see the blanket back there. I got them Philadelphia Eagle fans ain't too smart, bro. I'm just
wow.
Ain't too smart. He came back for day 2. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. Let's finish off on that. Let's finish up on get some more of these comments, and then let's get to Joe, man. So
I love you, Chris.
Let's give our favorites in a few minutes. Let's give our favorites on this thing and not be on here too much longer.
All right.
Okay, Ray Underwood wanted to know, do y'all remember Abdullah Butcher's electric chair match?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. Oh, he's talking about Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc. Yeah. That's what I remember that, man. And believe it or not, that was a decent pay-per-view, man. In a way, it was kind of funny, but it was a decent pay-per-view. Especially Jim Ross, some of the calls he was calling in that match, man. He was basically saying, man, my God, they hitting each other with anything that ain't nailed down.
I remember that.
And then, seeing Mick Foley, Cactus Jack come out there with a chainsaw and oh my gosh, that was some good stuff, man. That was some good stuff. I remember that, Ray. Our man Jeff Samuel says, hey, and Chris, Lucky Ali fighting NXT at a live event soon to debut. Nice.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I'm glad you brought that up, man, because we're going to get on it right now, Scott. Here you go, man. We're talking about your independent wrestlers. Lucky Ali, man, one of the many that have actually made it. So Scott, the ball is in your court, man.
Ali is a very good performer in our area.
Yes,
he always has been.
Yes, he is. No doubt.
He is really good.
Yeah,
but I want to talk about one guy specifically. I've been chomping at the bit all day to talk about this because I think this guy is going somewhere. And this, to me, he's got the full package. The body just needs to catch up with the rest. And he's a great wrestler, though. Everything about him, man. And that is the Rolls Royce of wrestling. Man.
I knew you were going to say Brino.
You knew I was going to say Brino. Come on now. Brino is the man, bro. Come on.
He would have kept messing with me. He wouldn't have made it to wrestling.
Oh, man. Listen to that.
Nah, Brino, man.
I love Brino.
He's a great kid, man. He's a great young man. And look, I gave him some tips on certain things that he should do and people that he should look at. And, hey, he incorporated stuff into his style. He already had a good style going into it. He's different. But, man, he has that technical ability
you're talking about a guy who has the stamina. I saw that man show up 2 hours before a wrestling show.
Right.
And he was in the ring training with another wrestler, and they were doing college-type wrestling, not professional, college type where, twisting, turning, trying to get the pin.
Yeah.
They did that for almost an hour. Almost an hour straight. I'm talking about no breaks, they were just in there trying to pin each other. And I thought they was going to go to blows there for a minute. It looked like it was getting serious. And they were, I can't remember who the other wrestler was. It'll probably come to me right after we turn off the show. But they did that for an hour. And then he turned around and he was the curtain jerker for the show.
Okay.
Wow. And I just thought, man, and I mean, he was just as fresh as I've seen. I mean, that to me right there just, told me, I just looked at that and went, wow.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive, man. And, hey, he looked at certain things when he came in, certain things that we said to him. And, he took it to heart and he went and improved himself. I mean, I remember when Chris Thunder Anderson, he went to Thunder Anderson. Thunder Anderson gave him some tips. He came back. He brought it back. He added stuff to his game. So, man, as far as Brino, the sky's the limit for Brino. Like you said, the body, Chris seen him, a couple weeks ago over at APW, and Chris told him, said, man, you done got too skinny. He done lost even more weight. But, he definitely need to keep his body right.
Yeah, that's what I said. The body needs to catch up a little bit. But,
he needs to get with a nutritionist
style, but with the style of wrestling that he wants to wrestle, I could see why he wants to stay at the cruiserweight type weight.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But he's great. He's great, man. He wants to he said he would like to get it to a point where he can get it like boxing, where the big time people, money people can come out and see wrestling. But he's definitely great, man. All right.
Yeah. Jeff, now what about Joe? What about you, man? What anybody on the indie scene as far as black wrestlers you seen that you be like, this kid's definitely got something, they might go somewhere? What about you, Joe?
Unfortunately, I can't really think of anybody immediately. I'm just really getting back into more of the local shows here lately.
Right.
So it's hard for me to say. We do have a good young man over in Southern States Wrestling who's coming along. His name is CJ Harris, and he's really just starting, but he's kind of on the slender side. He's a cruiserweight, but he's got some good high flying ability. And I think given time and some more seasoning that he's going to do well. I don't know if he's got what it takes to go, to the big show, but he's certainly is going to have a good career on the indies, if nothing else.
Okay. Good.
Now I tell you, me and Harry went down to Georgia. And man, there's some talent down in Atlanta.
Oh, a lot
man.
of talent. Yeah, a lot.
You got Skrilla the Great. Who is it?
Chad Skywalker.
Yeah, Chad Skywalker, man. Those guys down there in Georgia, man. Deep South professional wrestling, man.
Down
Deep
in
South.
Atlanta. Nick Patrick.
Nick Patrick. Yeah. And my man Eric. I can't think of Eric's last name.
I can't think of Eric's last name either, but Nick Patrick is the head guy.
Yeah, but if you go down there, man, there's some great talent down there, man. It's really, I would dare say, a lot of untapped potential down there in Deep South Wrestling, man. If y'all ever get a chance, go check those guys out, man. But yeah,
no doubt, no doubt. All right, Jeff says you can't lie, Harry. Devon Dudley was not a bad wrestler. We have a great mind. He has a great mind for business. No, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Jeff. I'm not gonna sit here and hate on Devon. Definitely not. Marshall Vandal, exactly, Scott. Harry should love ECP. Extreme Championship pie, man. You're tripping this pie thing, guys. Sup, y'all? 4 legends there. I'm so honored. If I had promotion, I'm hiring Scott as a producer. He got old school mentality like Cornette. That
wow.
Man, don't even go there, brother. I ain't nowhere as smart as Cornette, dude.
Hey, that's a big compliment. Take it. All right. Marshall Vandal says, "Why I'm a fan of Scott."
Not even close.
All right.
Hey, Scott, you got you a fan, man.
It's still in Tony Schiavone. I'm still
It's
in Tony
Sting.
Schiavone's
It's
voice.
Sting. No, he says Sting, man. Sting.
It's Sting, Tony. It's Sting, Tony Schiavone's voice. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Sting and Tony Schiavone's voice. All right, Marshall Vandal. If Heyman had a documentary movies, hire Scott to play the young man. All right, David Mogg says, yeah, it's hard to watch ECW even with a Peacock. I can't watch a whole show. I'm with you, David.
Okay, man. Okay, let me ask y'all this.
Hey,
Oh my God! Oh my God! How can you not watch a whole show? Oh my God!
He can't watch it. He can't watch it.
Let me ask y'all this, man. Let me ask y'all this. So you tell me,
I'm sorry.
okay,
I'm
you
sorry, I
can't
had
watch. Okay, I know you got the Terry Funks and your Mankind's and all that. Okay, I get all that. You tell me you can't watch after all that's said and done. They put on, or before all that, they put on a Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko match.
Oh man, that's different. Yeah,
But guess what? You might have to watch the whole show to get there.
But the whole thing about it, yeah, that's true. That's true. But you know what? Just like I done told you plenty times before.
There's a lot of hidden gems. Sometimes you got to go through the trash to get the diamonds, man.
And just like I done told you before, I like the Terry Funk. I like the late 60s Terry Funk up until 89. Now, this Terry Funk that got into ECW and all that hardcore stuff, I don't care for that Terry Funk.
Well, he was doing that back in Japan, man. Them death matches. He was doing that before he got to ECW.
He was doing that before he got to ECW, but that was in the 90s when he was doing that. He didn't do that in the 80s. He didn't do that, okay? He didn't do that in New Japan Pro Wrestling in the 80s. He did not do that. He was getting into it back around like late 80s, about 88, 89, right before he got into it with Ric Flair and all that stuff. But that wasn't him. Terry Funk was a technical wrestler, technical hardcore wrestler. He always been a hardcore, hard-hitting wrestler. But you better believe me when I tell you, from 75 to 77, the NWA wouldn't have kept that title on him if he was doing all that crazy stuff back then. Well, all actuality, they wouldn't permit that. So, no, that's the Terry Funk I like. That's the Terry Funk who built himself to be one of the greatest wrestlers ever in the world. And that's what I'm going to always keep him at, that Terry Funk. That Terry Funk that you guys loved so much, I'm not into that Terry Funk.
I love that crazy. That crazy
Look,
lunatic
he
Terry Funk.
He did that to prolong his career, man. His knees got bad. He was older. He did not have the build no more. He did that to prolong his career. It's just foolishness. In my opinion, it was foolishness what he did. But you know,
man,
hey,
you think people getting hit with chairs is foolishness, man? Come on,
the man is dead, man. The man is dead. I love Terry Funk, but I like to keep him in my mind from the late 60s up until when I saw him in the 70s.
Here's one of them fans. If somebody get poked in the eye, get raked in the eye, he think that's uncalled for.
I know.
He's one of them wrestling fans,
not
man.
At all, man. Not at all. Nick Fury is one of the best eye pokers I ever seen in my life. And what's the other one? Eric
Anton, man. Eric Anton. Timmy Anton. Yeah,
Eric Anton, one of the best eye pokers I ever seen in my life. Love when they do it, man. So don't come with that. But no, Terry Funk, and Joe can expound on that, man. Joe, I know you remember the Terry Funk from the 70s and 80s, man.
I do, and I absolutely love Terry Funk. He was you're right. He did what he did to prolong his career. He had to change. He had to, morph in order to survive in this business. And, that's true of anybody in wrestling. You've got to change. You've got to morph. But I agree with you, Harry. Just seeing him and Cactus Jack in the exploding barbed wire matches and, some of the stuff that they did in Japan, that's not the Terry Funk that I prefer to think about.
Exactly.
I do have a great deal of respect for the matches and some of the stuff that he did in ECW. And, if it wasn't for him, he really helped put ECW on the map tremendously.
Yes, he did.
Mhm.
But Terry was crazy. He was a wild man, and you never knew, what to expect with him. I had the privilege of working with him on several shows on the independents and interviewing him and things. And he was a trip. I mean, I interviewed him one time, and he spun around because he kept saying J.J. Dillon said so, David Flair said so, and he spun around one time during the interview, and I legitimately thought he was about to hit me. I just kind of reared back, and but he didn't, and it came off great because it came off like I was like, oh God, I was scared of him. And after it was over, he looks at me and he just laughs. He said, I hope everything was good there, man. Is that okay? And I was like, dude, that was awesome.
Right.
But you had to love him. Because he was just such a fun person. But, that's not my favorite time in Terry Funk's career, of course, is the brutality and the hardcore stuff. But, man, I mean, even look what he did when he got to WWE. He was, in 1998, he was doing backflips off the top rope, doing moonsaults for the first time. And he was 50-something years old doing that, He did what he had to do to survive and make money, and he was incredible all the way around. I love Terry.
Yeah,
and one thing I remember Terry. The first time I actually saw Terry, it was actually before I knew he was a wrestler, and he was in the Sylvester Stallone movie Over the Top as a security guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was like, dear God, I'm like, who is this big joker here? Because Terry was huge.
Yeah, he was big back then.
In the day. I was like, my God, I'm like, who is this? And I didn't know who he was. But then when I knew who he was, I saw the movie again. I was like, I'm like, oh, that's Terry. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this joker was massive. He was bigger than Sylvester. Terry was jacked.
You need to see some Sylvester Stallone's movie, Paradise Alley. And Terry Funk plays
Frankie the Thumper.
What's that now?
Wasn't the character Frankie the Thumper?
Yeah, Frankie the Thumper. Yeah. To me, that's the greatest wrestling movie ever.
Did he have a Joey Bumper from the Yard on that, boy?
No, man. Shut up, man. No. But no, that movie was made in the 70s, man. It's a great movie. It's pretty much, I think Rocky produced that movie like a year or two after. I think he produced it around 78. A couple years after he produced Rocky, but it's in that same type of mode. It didn't get the publicity that it should have gotten, but you definitely did. Excuse me. You ever get a chance to see it, Chris? You got to see it. Scott, have you ever seen it? Paradise Alley?
Oh yeah.
Great movie, Chris. Great movie. And man, Terry, man, he was just. Yeah, his character was pretty awesome in that movie. But yeah, you need to see that movie. I haven't seen a wrestling movie that good in a while, in my opinion. Well, probably never. But yes, great movie. All right, James L says, laugh out loud, Chris face expression. James L says, even Scott knows if Abdullah would have fight, he would have destroyed John Moxley and AEW and Eddie Kingston like a bug. Of course.
Oh, good God, man. Yes, man.
Yeah, man. Of course, yeah.
No doubt.
Would have killed him, man. Dave Mod says, I met the Iron Sheik at an indie show. Okay.
Nice. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, James L. Scott, you hear Mick Foley want one final match? Yeah, I hope he don't do it. I know that make you happy. Foley and AEW getting ready, Harry. Man, I don't know if I want to see that. But I'll look at it. I'm not going to sit here and say I won't look at it because he's unpredictable too. Marshall Vandal, laugh out loud. David Mod says Solo. David Mod, Solo does a
tape thumb
spike. Yeah. All right, you good, Scott? It's fine. Marshall Vandal, we don't remember so many greats. Like I didn't know Harry was in the crowd of AWA wrestling in the 70s. Yeah, I know a lot about AWA, man. All right, James L. Harry, you should write a book, OG. You know everything about wrestling and past. I'm impressed, Mr. Hamilton. All right, James. Yeah, man, I know a lot. I know a lot about the sport, man. There's no doubt about that. Dave Mod says, I don't think today's guys could handle the old school 70s guys. No, they couldn't. No. Dave Moss says, "Holy crap, I wouldn't be able to walk after that." He talking about all that stuff that Chris went through. Yeah, man. Look, Danny is the first guy that I met that I could say pretty much can beat me. Well, go knowledge for knowledge with me, and probably and beat me on a lot of certain things as far as wrestling knowledge. Danny was the first person that I met personally. I mean, David is an encyclopedia. I mean, not David, but Danny was an encyclopedia of wrestling, man. He just knew so much stuff. And a lot of people that hear me, they're like, wow, man, he's so full of, full of knowledge. The thing about me is when I stopped watching wrestling, I let it go completely. When, like I said, 99, 2000, Chris, when I think David Arquette, when that happened, they gave the title to him. I looked at that. I said, I'm not watching wrestling anymore.
Even though he fought against it, man, he fought hard not to take it, but they pushed it on him anyway, man. But I want to know something, man. I want to know something, man. We were talking about independent black wrestlers.
Yeah. I
just need to know, man, why our man Zuka King has not gotten a shot yet, man.
I was gonna continue my list too, but yeah, Zuka was on it. But yeah, that's
man, Zuka's special.
Because when you think Lucky Ali and Zuka, they on the same level. We've all four of us seen these guys wrestle. We all four know who they are, and they're on the same level. And I'm just like, what is it, man? Does Lucky might have an inside track? Does Zuka don't, or vice versa? What is it, man?
I think the only bad thing on Zuka King's record is he was an unbookable at one time. Other than that, I think he's pretty good.
Who was unbookable? Zuka, you say?
Zuka King was unbookable at one time in WWF.
Pretty much. Zuka goes all everywhere, but Zuka is better.
No, he was with the unbookables, man.
Oh, he was with the unbookable. Oh, he was? Yeah. Okay, I didn't get that clearly because of my phone right now is messed up. But no, I didn't know he was with them.
That's right there in the middle. He's in the War Games as part of the Unbookables. That was my favorite. That was my favorite show of all time in the Indies, man.
Yeah, my favorite show, man. Goodness sake, we'll never forget that one. That one in the cage, boy. The first time they had that cage and Chris
Tyler Storm and Tyler Storm and
what was it? Scars and Stripes.
Yeah, Scars and Stripes, man.
Yeah, man. But that was
I'm gonna have to go here in a few minutes, guys. I gotta take my medicine and all that other stuff. You guys know my health, but
no problem,
I want to add a few more people to the list before I go.
Go ahead and do that, Scott.
Okay.
In our area, D'Angelo, great guy.
Now I never seen him wrestle. He wrestled Brino.
Man, if you do, you got to check him out. Antonio Morgan, you got to put Antonio Morgan
yes,
on
the anomaly, yes.
Yeah. Zay Vega, you got to put him on that list.
Yeah.
There's another guy that I believe he wrestles in Virginia. His name is Dominic Stuckey. If you don't know who he is, go look him up.
I know the name.
Great wrestler.
I know who you're talking about.
Of course, there's an up-and-comer that I like. A lot of people say that, he's too green, blah, 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 but I like him. Mayhem McQueen, he's another one that's coming.
Man. Yeah, he's wrestling
Dre White. Oh, I love Dre White. I played chess against Dre White.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to think of any more. That's all I can think of right at the back. Oh, gosh darn it. You guys are going to tell me his name, but I'm going to – this is my mind because I probably need to take my medicine. But who's the guy that every time he comes out and the audience don't clap loud enough, he goes back in, then he comes back out and he goes back in?
You know
what I'm talking about?
I know
on the indie scene.
On the indies, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Geez.
Luka used to do that too.
His partner too. Him and his partner. He had a tag team partner. Both of them guys were good. The other guy called himself a king too. What was his name? His partner called himself King something.
I know who he's
talking about. My mind's going blank, man.
I got his face in my head and I can't think of his name. Man, we've seen him work a million times.
I know you have.
Oh my God.
Harry, you know who I'm talking about. He comes out and he goes like this, and then if the audience don't clap enough, he turns right around and goes back through the curtain. He'll go, wait a minute, we got to do this again, and he goes back through the curtain.
I know you're talking about.
Drive me crazy because
I can't think of his name, man, because we haven't seen him in a while. But
I'll come across his name. I know I will.
Man. Yeah, it'll come to me once we end the show. Probably.
Yeah, when we go off the air or something, it'll come. Oh God,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Goodness
I'll
sake.
say this much for him. That is kind of creative and funny, though. If he comes out, he's not happy with his pop, and he goes back. I mean, that is
he's
different.
hilarious.
I give him props for that.
This guy is totally hilarious, man. He is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good wrestler too. Don't get me wrong. He's a great wrestler. I'll come across his name here in a minute. I know I
Curtis
interviewed him.
Robinson.
No, it's not. It's not Curtis Robertson.
It's
No,
not.
Curtis.
It's not Curtis Robertson.
It's somebody else that does that. It's a couple of. I can't. I'm not even trying.
It's gonna drive me crazy.
Manager, C. Nick, another good black
Okay.
guy in wrestling.
Okay.
I know C. Nick. C. Nick's a great guy. I worked with him on the Tracy Smothers Memorial Show up in Springfield, Tennessee, a couple years ago. It was the first time I'd met C. Nick, but we called the matches together, and he is a great talent. He really is, and he really. I haven't said this many times about people that I've called matches with, but his knowledge carried me on many of the talents because I wasn't that familiar with them, and he was, and he did a great job of carrying the show in many regards that night. He's a great talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man,
there's another guy that if you don't know, he works over in Nevada. His name is Irvin Legend. He's another good one. You need to go check him out if you haven't heard of him.
And there's a guy up in DC, man, that we've seen in Hendersonville up at Uprise, John Washington.
John Washington, yes.
Yeah, John Washington. He's another good. And man,
good.
you talk about that guy. He will rag on you no matter what. You be like, "Hey, John, how you doing?" And he would just automatically go off on cut.
How could I forget this guy? Gargamel, Chris Vallow.
Oh wow, yeah. I haven't seen him in a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. His tag team partner too, the short guy. He's all of like 3'5". What's his name? Golly, you know who I'm talking about. He's taller than that. He's about 5 foot.
Yeah.
He can't be much taller than 5 feet though.
Yeah, I haven't seen them guys in a long time, man. So I know you're talking about, but it's been a while.
Hey, Scott, before you go, man, Robert Brown wants to know, Scott Larson, if possible, could you put your YouTube channel in the description, please?
Yeah, put your link in. Yeah.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Scott, you getting some fans here, buddy, man.
Okay, join the chat. Let me connect on YouTube and see if I can do this.
Okay.
All right, we definitely will. But yeah, Scott, before you go, I want to know who is your favorite black wrestler of all time, man.
My favorite black wrestler of wow. Now you got to put me on the spot, don't you? Okay.
Either that or who you think is the best black wrestler that you've seen
of all time.
Whew. That didn't make it no better.
You're gonna make me say it, Harry. You know you are. He only had 5 wrestling moves, but the man will fill a building in a heartbeat. I'm gonna have to say The Rock, man. Well, Coco Beware is up there too, but The Rock, man. I have to say The Rock, in my opinion, man. Just because of the charisma, dude. I'm a charisma guy.
Yeah, man.
And,
all right.
You know, now there's a bunch. I mean, if I had a few minutes to sit down and really think about it, man, I mean, there'd be a list. But off the top of my head, I'd have to say The Rock. I just love, and I've just put it up in the stream, guys. If you guys want to come check me out, thank you.
Yeah, come go and check out my man.
Yeah, I put it up there, right there, guys. Right there, guys. There it is, right there, guys.
Follow him, hit a like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, ding, 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 so you know when Scott come on. All right.
And I'll tell you, when it comes to independent wrestling, man, like I said, Scott, to me, honestly, he is the godfather of independent wrestling.
Hopefully in March I'll be coming back. If not, I might be getting my teeth fixed. I mean, might be getting dentures, and if I do, it'll be another 6 weeks after that. So it might be April around my birthday or right after WrestleMania when I come back. But I'm hoping March, man. I'm hoping that they can do something to just, you know.
Okay. Well, we'll
not having to pull all my teeth,
man, and you know we're definitely gonna have Joe back on, so we want to do some.
Oh yeah, things. Definitely.
We're probably gonna just come in here and talk about wrestling sometime because guys, y'all took us in a different direction.
I want to get together and go to Asylum with you guys, man. I haven't been to Asylum since they changed it over to Asylum.
Chris been one time.
It looks good, Scott. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's totally different. But yeah, we definitely get together, man. Scott, we'll come down and pick you up or whatever we have to do, man. We'll come down and pick you up and we all go. We're rolling.
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Harry Taylor. Don't threaten me with a good time, man.
Hey, we'll do it, man.
And Joe, you got to get down here too, man. You got to get down here on the other side of the border, Joe. You got to get down here.
Yeah.
Man.
We go up there with Joe at, man. Hey, Joe, did you do that show last night in Gastonia?
Yes. I did.
Yeah.
It was Gastonia National Guard Armory, Super Star Wars. John Collins was the promoter, and it was a fantastic show. Solid event all the way around. It was a good time. There was, I would say, easily 300 people in the building, and they were a hot crowd. It was a fun show.
Yeah, Malcolm Kidd, man, he reached out to me, talking to us about coming out there. But me and Chris, we just said, well, we could have went. Chris was wanting to go. I wanted to go too, but I had some family things, and I told Malcolm that. So next time, man, that happens, we definitely get out to see the show.
Yeah, definitely,
Malcolm
definitely.
the one who runs that, right? Or is it Malcolm?
I'm sorry?
Is Malcolm the promoter?
John Collins was the promoter of Super Star Wars last night in Gastonia.
We know John. Yeah, we done worked a couple shows with John.
Okay, yeah.
But it's been a while. But yeah, definitely,
And
man.
he's going to run.
We see that, we definitely would.
He's going to run March. I believe the date is March the 30th. I believe it's March the 30th. He's going to run in Shelby, I believe at the high school. But there'll be more information coming on March the 30th. He's got a big one coming. He's got a big one coming up in April. I don't want to give away anything about April yet till he locks everything in. But he's also got a date coming in April. So John's making some things happen and put some good shows on.
Well, I'll keep in contact with you, man. If we come on the 30th, now we want to get it. I don't know if you be commentating. Hey, I might want to get in and sit down with you on a couple matches.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
So definitely, yeah, we definitely would love to come out and work with you, man. Again, hey, miss working with you. And hey, we probably can get you over and work with one of our shows. Come down.
Yeah, definitely.
Sit down,
man.
Absolutely,
stuff, man. Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to.
Yeah, but Scott, give me your favorite black wrestler. I'm gonna get Joe's too, man. We're not gonna stay on here much longer.
I already gave you mine, man. The Rock.
The Rock. Okay. I'm sorry, Scott.
You good?
Hey.
You good? Here, I'll give you some of my medicine too, man. Here you go.
All right, man.
Help your memory, man. Help your memory.
Oh, there, no doubt about that. But Scott, man, you have a great night, man. If you want to stay on a little bit longer, that's up to you. But hey,
yeah, I'm gonna stay on TT closed out, man.
And there it is, guys. And there's the link right there. Scott Larson, #Truth. Checking them out, guys. Man, go support, man. Show our brother some love, man.
No doubt.
Because he was the inspiration that got us started and got us going where we are, man. And like I said, my name is Chris Kahn, and I got an announcement to make before we get off the air, guys. A big announcement. I got a big announcement. It ain't big business, but it's a big announcement.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Who did you skip? How many did you skip to get?
No, we let me see where we at. Yeah, Robert Brown said, Scott Larson, if possible, go get a link.
You already got that one.
All right, Robert Brown said Mick Foley need to sit down somewhere. He up there cracking up. And then, there's Scott's link, #Truth for his YouTube channel. And Robert Brown says prayers for my brother Scott.
No doubt.
You, Robert, I appreciate it.
And Mac Magnum says, bravo, great show tonight. Thanks for the informative conversation. Had a great evening, everyone.
You too, Mac. You too.
Yeah,
all right, before we get out of here, Joe Wheeler, man, I want to know who's your favorite wrestler or who was the best wrestler, black wrestler you think you've seen in wrestling.
Well, one guy that we haven't mentioned through this show that I want to point out is one of my favorite current talents, and that's Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, we didn't. I don't believe we talked about him, and he. I think he's a tremendous talent, and he would have to rank up there. With one of my favorites that's currently active. But I think I would have to, The Rock, of course, icon, can't take anything away from him. No. The Rock is incredible. But, I got to go back. I got to go back old school, man. Thunderbolt Patterson, to me, was one of those just captivating personalities who made such an impact and, was so underrated. He never really got the glory that I think he deserved. But when I think of old school wrestling, he's one of the first ones that pop into my head as just being fantastic.
Oh, that's
Oh
true.
yeah, definitely.
I
Man,
100%
definitely.
agree with you. And Dusty Rhodes took, he took cues from him as far as his promo and everything like that. Dusty wouldn't have been doing those kind of promos if it wasn't for Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was special,
and even Road Dogg. Even Road Dogg ripped off Thunderbolt. Oh, exactly. You didn't know?
Yeah.
And you better call somebody.
Exactly.
That was Thunderbolt Patterson.
Exactly. Yeah. Man, Thunderbolt at one time was he was my favorite black wrestler at one time. But because he was before Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas was my favorite. And I have to say Tony Atlas between 77 to 83. I've never seen. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm not going to take away from The Rock, because The Rock, one of the most popular wrestlers ever, as far as outside of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. Nobody probably had that sensational run like that. But as far as quality of opponents and what he was able to achieve, Tony Atlas probably had the best run of any black wrestler I ever seen between like 77 to 83, that 6 years there, as far as winning titles and what he was able to achieve in wrestling. I never seen anything like that from another black wrestler. Now, and I know those years, what I'm talking about, Joe. When Tony Atlas from the Mid-Atlantic Georgia Championship Wrestling, when he teamed up with Kevin Sullivan, that tag team, one of the best tag teams I ever seen. Tony Atlas, when he was national heavyweight champion, Georgia heavyweight champion, all the titles that he won between those years, the 1 hour draw he had with Ric Flair. I mean, he was just fantastic. He was fantastic. And he was winning those bodybuilding contests at that time. Just an incredible wrestler that had some great feuds with Ken Patera. Ken Patera, him and Abdullah the Butcher. He suplexed Abdullah the Butcher. And I'm not talking about the 360-pound Abdullah the Butcher. I'm talking about Abdullah when he was over 500 pounds. He suplexed him. The last person I seen beat Hulk Hogan in a full feud. He beat him, in that feud in 1982. When they was both in the WWF, he beat him in that feud. But Tony Atlas was just incredible. And I think that's what led him up into that year of 1983 when him and Rocky Soulman Johnson, or was it 82 or 83, when they paired Soulman Johnson with him, because Tony Atlas was so popular, and they went ahead and won those World Tag Team titles. But as far as talent-wise go, Rocky Soulman Johnson is probably the most talented I ever seen. I liked him more when he was Sweet Ebony Diamond. You remember that? Sweet Ebony Diamond under the massive Mid-Atlantic? That was the best I ever seen him. What's that?
Oh, yeah. I definitely remember Sweet Ebony Diamond when he was doing that gimmick in Mid-Atlantic. That was classic.
Yeah, man, he was incredible. And that I was so amazed at him. But to me, as far as talent-wise go, he was the most talented. I know Chris don't really know when he saw Tony Atlas was barely bopping around the ring, looking all crazy and stuff like that. So
yeah.
James L just said Tony Atlas wasn't a bad cat. I like that. That's why I was smiling.
Tony Atlas was incredible. And I'm gonna go back to Michael King and Chris. We did the strongest wrestlers, and they just insisted that Big E was stronger than Tony Atlas. I'm just like, I would have had it, went with it. No. I would have had it, went with it. But I was laughing. But I went ahead and went with it.
But then I switched up. I'm like, all right, then Mark Henry then.
Well,
Mark Henry, world's strongest man. He broke records in the Olympics. That would be a good matchup to watch.
Exactly. But well, who trained? Who did Vince call Tony Atlas? Asked him to train him. Tony Atlas went over there. Tony had to teach him to bench press correctly. So it was certain things that Tony taught him. Of course, overall body of strength, he was stronger than Tony Atlas. Right. But there was a couple things that Tony Atlas was stronger than him. Tony Atlas, Ken Patera said this himself. So he said Tony Atlas' arms were stronger than his legs. Wow. That's what Ken Patera said.
That's crazy.
The dude benched 680 pounds. That's before all the new nutritionist stuff that they have. All this crazy stuff they had. He was benching 680 pounds, man. That's the highest that a wrestler ever done. I know and then I think Animal did 630. I think Animal's second on the list. He did 6:30. But man, Tony Atlas he was incredible. Like I say, Chris, if you didn't see his 77 to 83 run, which I know because you was born in 77, you didn't see that. But man, I've never seen a black wrestler get over like that, and the fans was just crazy about him. But I can't say nobody ever got over that big because we know what The Rock got, how The Rock did, and we saw what Booker T was able to do. But I'm gonna say this, man, and I know, a lot of people might not agree with this. Bobby Lashley, that last run that he had with that title, that WWE title, when I came back, and like I said, you wasn't really watching it because you was on that AEW tip. You wasn't really watching. You wasn't paying attention. That right there corroborated what Tony Atlas was doing. He was incredible. I was watching Bobby Lashley.
When he had the U.S. title, is that what you're talking
when
about?
he had the WWE title.
When he had the WWE title.
He was WWE champion, and they took it off of him. And in my opinion, Vince took it off of him because all the shine can be on Roman. That's my opinion. Bobby Lashley was incredible. The things that he was doing at that time. I think he was at the peak of his powers at that time. And MVP was just dominant on that mic. He was just killing it. But that's the closest I've ever seen anybody get to what Tony was doing between 77 and 83. Now, Ron Simmons, that was such a short run. But that was very explosive what he done for that 5-6 months. Now, look, I'm going to go higher than that, but he was like champion for 5 months. For about 8 or 9 months solo, he was just killing it. After Doom, he killed it for about 9 months to a year. He was just dominant, just destroying everybody. So that was very close to it too. But Tony Atlas, the only reason I say Tony Atlas was the best, I'll say he's the best is because he sustained it for like 6 years. And that was incredible. Joe, who do you see as the top?
Well, I mean, Tony was incredible, and I tell you one thing about Tony Atlas that I always remember was when he would do the 500-pound bench press on the TV on Georgia Championship Wrestling, and that was absolutely incredible at the time. Like you said, they didn't have all the science that they do and the training that they do nowadays, and for him to go out there and do that, I mean, it mesmerized the people. So I mean, Tony definitely is got to be in the top 5 of the greatest of all time. I mean, he's incredible, and he's still going. He's still doing appearances and autograph sessions. And a quick side note on Tony Atlas, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but he is an absolutely incredible artist. The man can draw.
That's what I've heard.
Man.
I've heard some of his drawings rival Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, Tony's.
I want to say one more quick thing, and then I gotta split, guys, because I'm starting to get dizzy and stuff. But I want to say one thing. Number one, I'm going to answer this question right here. Tomorrow on my Facebook page, 7 p.m., I'll be going live and making some announcements about what's happening with #Truth and some other things that I'm going to be doing in the future. And I'm going to add another wrestler to the list. I said The Rock because of his charisma. Now I'm going to add another guy that we haven't mentioned at all tonight, modern guy. And if we're going to talk athleticism, how could we forget Ricochet? How could we forget Ricochet?
Oh, man.
I'm just saying.
One of the most athletic wrestlers I ever seen.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Harry and Chris,
Scott,
for inviting me on. It was a pleasure doing the show with you guys. And
check him out on
you guys want me back
tomorrow, guys, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, anytime you guys want me back, I will definitely be back. It's always a blast being on Straight Up Wrestling Show with you guys, and I always tune in every chance I get. And
Scott.
Yeah, and don't make me hunt all y'all down. Y'all better do what he says, man. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Come back, watch Harry and them, man. I mean, you'll get mad at Harry and you'll fall in love with Chris. I'm just saying, that's just the way it always goes.
And don't forget to check out Scott Larson, guys. #Truth, man. Check him out, man.
All right, thank you, guys, man.
Right,
thank you, Scott. Thank you, man.
But yeah,
nice
Joe, Joe, I'm with you on it. Like Tony Atlas, it's hard to beat him. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick anybody over him if you know the old school, you know the history of black wrestlers. Of course, you can go back to Sailor Art Thomas and stuff like that. That's before our time. Sailor Thomas was incredible. You know, Bobo Brazil. It's hard to pick against him too. But Bobo Brazil, Ernie Ladd, they definitely. I got to go Tony, Ernie, maybe Tony, Ernie, and then I got to look at, like I say, I got to look at Booker T. I mean, Ron Simmons, Booker T, Bobby Lashley. I got to look at those guys, man. They were incredible. They are incredible too. But man, yeah, Atlas is just. Like I say, if you did not get to see him, Chris, in his prime, you missed a treat, man. This guy was flipping incredible. Now, Butch Reed was somebody else, too. Now, Butch Reed is somebody I thought would overtake Atlas. When I first saw Butch Reed over in Georgia, he was at Memphis and then Georgia. Butch Reed was incredible before he had his knee problems. When he was in Doom, Chris, that's when he had his knee problems. When he went to WWE, he was like WWF. He was the natural Butch Reed.
Yeah,
that wasn't the same Butch Reed. He still was good, but that wasn't the same Butch Reed. But before he had knee problems, man, he was, gosh, boy, but you're like 81, 82, 83. He was something special. He was like in Memphis, and then 82, 83, 84, he was in Georgia. He was just, and between Memphis and Georgia, but he was incredible. You remember that run? No, not Memphis. He was in Louisiana down there with Bill Watts, I think. You remember that run?
You mean
he was with Watts, and he blew up. He blew up real big with Bill Watts down there. Yeah. And Butch was a great talent. I mean, when him and Simmons were together as Doom, I mean, they were pretty much unstoppable. I mean, that was a great era for tag team wrestling, because you had them, you had the Steiners, you had the Road Warriors, all in that mix, the Samoan SWAT team. But Doom, man, they were dominant, man. They ruled the roost for a while.
I mean, everybody credited them with running the Road Warriors out. Man, I remember when they first Teddy Long first got with him, because at first they was with Woman, and they was with Woman,
and couldn't win a match to save their life.
Yeah, they had the mask on. They were good, but they really wasn't winning. And Teddy Long got them, and I remember the Road Warriors came out there, man. They went at it. They beat the Road Warriors. They pretty much got the upper hand on the Road Warriors. And then I'll never forget. I went and saw it live a lot down at the auditorium, Greenwood Auditorium, Memorial Auditorium, and saw those two men go at it with the Steiners. Man, you talking about those are the hardest hitting tag team matches I ever seen in my life. Probably the hardest hitting matches I ever seen in my life. Because you know what? You know how Scott and Rick, those guys didn't back down from anybody. They was not back down type of guys. And Ron Simmons, like everybody know, hey, you didn't mess with Ron Simmons. They said that's the only person in the locker room that the Steiners didn't mess with. Everybody else, they ragged on him, and they said Butch. They said because they didn't know what Butch was gonna do. But when those guys got in to the ring together, a lot of the leather really started flying, and they wanted to see who was the toughest guys. And so it was incredible to see those two teams go at it, man. And I saw them on numerous occasions wrestle the Steiners, but I saw them against other guys live. Of course, they beat up, Nasty Boys and things like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those guys, man, Doom was incredible. That's the reason why I say, as far as Harlem Heat go, Chris, Harlem Heat was good, but they was no Doom. They was not nowhere near. Doom was just, they was, man, like my man said, like Joe said, they was pretty much unstoppable, man. And it could have kept going, but they end up breaking the team up. And Ron was talking about when he broke the team up. He said, they was in the back or whatever, and and Ric Flair, somebody, I don't know if it was Flair or somebody else, man. They said, let's just go ahead and break Doom up. And everybody was like, why, man? Why? They dominant and everything like that, but they wanted to go ahead and break them up over something, but it came down from the head. Bischoff, I was listening to Bischoff's podcast. Bischoff did that, and Bischoff said he wished he never would have done it. He said, and Bischoff said that's because he really didn't like tag team wrestling, but he said Doom was incredible, but he said he really did not pay attention to what they was doing. And he said after that, he started looking at old reruns of reruns of their matches, but he said this was after. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Bischoff. No, Bischoff I think came in as a junior executive or working in the what's name. Bischoff was saying who broke him up. I think it was the pizza guy. Whoever he said break him up. Whoever was running it at that time, Jim Barrett or whatever. But he said let's go ahead and take the titles off of him. But said Flair and some other guys were saying no, we shouldn't do that. And then Flair said, okay, go ahead and roll with it. And they went ahead and did it. So, but yeah, Doom was outstanding, man. Great black tag team. and not just black tag team. They could have been one of the greatest tag teams of all time. I would say three, within the top four if they never would have broke up. Don't you think so, Joe?
Absolutely. I mean, if they'd been given more time, like you said, to really, establish their legacy even more. But they were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
You knew you were going to see a hell of a fight when you saw them come out.
Oh yeah. But Chris, I don't even need, since Scott went ahead and named your favorite black wrestler, I'm pretty sure you're gonna say Rock too.
I mean, yeah, Rock, but I would probably, The Rock, man. Yeah, definitely. I would go with Rock, man. Yeah, Rock, man.
I mean, he definitely gets it on as far as charisma. I'm not gonna say he was more charismatic than Thunderbolt Patterson. Thunderbolt just didn't have that machine behind him. I can't say he has more charisma than Thunderbolt Patterson. Now he might have a better look. Thunderbolt had a cool look, but Thunderbolt could pass for a pimp. He could be
Thunderbolt. He remind me more of a
pimp, pastor. Well-dressed man, GQ. He had it all.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I can see that, man. But
yeah, no doubt about it, man. But yeah, Thunderbolt Patterson. Yeah, his promos was outstanding. I will say that. I got to give it to Joe on that. He's one of these guys you cannot forget. I just can't. Anytime I think about wrestling, Thunderbolt Patterson is one of these guys that show up. Anytime if you turn on the light and somebody say wrestlers, name wrestlers.
First time I saw Thunderbolt Patterson, man, it was at a Clash of Champions, man. And I think Bullet Bob Armstrong was supposed to be wrestling somebody or doing something, and he came out there and I ain't never seen. I'm like, who is this old crazy looking Joker? Boy, who is this dude? And he comes out there, cuts a little promo, and then whoever, I can't remember who it was he was cutting a promo on, but the guy rebutted, and then next thing you know, and then Thunderbolt come out like, oh man, hey, now look, man, I'm trying to be nice, I'm trying to be cool here, man, but we can't throw down. I'll kick your and everybody went crazy, and I'm like, what's wrong with this fool, man? What?
Well,
and the crowd went crazy.
I remember when he came back to Clash of the Champions. I was shocked. I was stunned because I hadn't seen him in a long time. Because he pretty much got blackballed from the business. So I hadn't seen him in a long time. But when he came back at the Clash, I was really stunned, and it was exciting, man, because the fans remembered it. Like Joe said, if you've seen him before, you're not gonna forget him. So
that was my first time seeing him. I'm like, who is this?
Fans knew who he was, man, and so that was an incredible moment for him to come back, and I was hoping they was going to be able to use him a lot more than they did.
It was just a one-off, man. It was just a one-off.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead. Like, it's hard for me to pick between Rocky Soulman Johnson and Tony Atlas. I'm going to go Rocky Soulman Johnson as the most talented black wrestler I ever seen. And I'm going to go Tony Atlas as the strongest. Because like I said, I just never seen nobody do what he did. Even though he didn't win a world title, he could have and he should have. But nobody has a better resume as far as black wrestlers go than Tony Atlas, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and get with these comments, Chris, from wherever we left off.
Okay, man.
Go ahead and get the rest of these comments. And then
Marshall Bangles says,
final word.
Mark Henry, LOL. Robert Brown, Jay Lethal needs to get away from Jeff Jarrett. I could go with that.
Yeah.
Robert Brown,
I agree there.
Robert Brown, Ric Flair, Drip, put Jay Lethal on the map. He did.
Was on the map before that, but still, yeah.
But when he had that deal with him and TNA, Flair and TNA, that really launched him off, man. That did. Really launched him off.
Yeah.
Marshall Bandle, Harry, we forgot The Rock. He black, y'all.
Yeah.
Right.
Some people don't want to acknowledge that, but yeah, he is. He's half black.
Robert Brown, Scott Larson, Joe Wheeler. When did y'all get y'all's chance to check out Wrestle Toddy?
Check out Wrestle Toddy. Tatiana, man. Tatiana.
Okay. Yeah. Tatiana, man. Jeff Samuel, my favorite back then was Coco Beware. Chris' favorite. Now R-Truth. We didn't talk about R-Truth, man.
Yeah, R-Truth, man, he's got a legacy, big time.
Man,
big
yeah.
time.
Even though he wrestling in the '90s, you watch TV until R-Truth show up to left, future Hall of Famer. Yeah, man. R-Truth, man, he
started off in APW.
Yeah, and he was the first NWA world champion, man. So yeah.
You know what? It's kind of hard for me to say that, Chris. Really is, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because really, when it really truly boils down to it, Ron Simmons was that WCW World Title. It's the NWA World Championship.
No. It's WCW.
No. It is.
No, Harry. No.
Chris.
Harry, look it up in the record books. They got it in the record books. It's WCW.
I know what they got in the record books. Chris. But that WCW World Championship title, the lineage goes back to the NWA title. It went the NWA title. They switched it over. Flair was the NWA title. They switched it over to the WCW Championship, World Heavyweight Championship. It's the same belt. That belt, Ric Flair. Remember when he gave up that belt, the NWA title? He handed it over. It still was the same company. It was the NWA before it came WCW. Same company. He handed that belt over. That's the same belt, same lineage. What they went ahead and did is when Jim Crockett Promotions sold off to Ted Turner. Ted Turner, he kept it for like a year and a half. I think he kept it as NWA, WCW. NWA still was involved, but NWA pulled away. NWA was nothing. It didn't have nothing. Then you had other people join the NWA. Pretty much started running shows again on their own. And they had champions, Dan Severn. They had Tim, what was his name? Tim White, I think, or whatever his name. They had other champions. Then you had these other guys, TNA. They put it in there. But in my opinion, WCW, the WCW that you see that went defunct, that's the real NWA. That's the real what happened to the NWA? Joe can tell you they bought up all the territories. That's the real NWA. They bought all the territories. That's the real NWA. So in my opinion, I know a lot of people want to say, oh, he's the first NWA world champion. No, in my opinion, that belt, that WCW belt, is the real NWA World Heavyweight Championship belt. What do you think, Joe? In my opinion.
I disagree.
Well, I can see both sides of the argument. Very clearly. And yes, I mean, I have to agree with you, Harry, that it did basically morph into the NWA, WCW. It was all under one envelope until the NWA regenerated itself and broke away and started doing its own thing again. So there is a gray area in that period of time because the NWA failed to exist otherwise, as far as I know.
Right.
You know, I think it was in 90. Well, and part of I know there was a deal signed when Crockett sold to Turner. The Crockett's couldn't compete in the wrestling business for 5 years after they sold. And I think in that 5-year time, the name, NWA, it all just kind of molded right into the WCW, title.
It did. Now it went for like a year and a half, 2 years, and you could go back to some of the Clash of Champions, Chris. After they sold it in '89 and '89-90, they still had NWA up there. They still had it on the ring aprons and everything. They still NWA was still a representative. It was still NWA, WCW. WCW decided to break away from that NWA banner. So all those titles, the lineage, the United States title, that was that United States title that came out of the NWA. That world belt, NWA, that world TV belt. It was a WCW, it became WCW World Television Championship. It was the NWA Television Championship. You can't take the history away from it. Even though the Baltimore Ravens, they moved over there. The Cleveland Browns moved over there to Baltimore, became the Baltimore Ravens. If they wouldn't have started another team, in my opinion, they still was the Cleveland Browns. That legacy still goes back there. The Atlanta Braves, when they moved from Milwaukee, they still have their lineage from Milwaukee. You can't take that away from that. So that and my thing with the NWA and hey, I hate to say this, the NWA never got world championship status. In my opinion, they just called their belt the world championship belt. It never was a world championship belt again. It really wasn't. It never got big enough to be a world championship belt again. That's just my argument. And and hey, nobody. It really never was an NWA world championship belt. Never was it never was a world championship belt no more. It wasn't recognized as a world championship belt. I know Pro Wrestling Illustrated put it up there and whatever, but they never did put that as, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, these magazines that was so big and prominent at that time. They never did put the NWA there and call it a world championship. Now, they said Dan Severn was the world champion, NWA world champion, that NWA was recognizing that, but they wasn't recognizing it. It wasn't big enough, Chris. When it boils down to it, when the NWA, after Crockett had gave it up, and a few years later, after they started morphing themselves back in, they became like a big independent. It wasn't not even a big independent, Chris. They was drawing crowds like we see these shows around here draw. They were. So, like I say, when I first seen R-Truth win that title, that NWA world title, and all the people winning that title, and I said, okay, he's on TNA, and they taking that, they gave it more credibility, but still, in my opinion, it was not a world championship. So that's just my story. I'm sticking to it. Now, I'm not saying that R-Truth was not a world champion. I will give him credit as being a world champion because people see him as world champion, but that belt just never, it was recognized. TNA didn't have a world belt at the time. They didn't have a belt, did world championship belt.
No, not at the time, no.
Yeah, because they was recognizing the world they was recognizing that, I think, as the world championship belt. So that's the reason I will credit it as that, but still, it's hard for me to take that away from WCW and say that wasn't the NWA. That was the NWA, Chris. That's just all it is to it. It was the NWA. Even when what's name became the NWA International World Champion, Rick Rude, he was the NWA International World Champion. Where was he the NWA International World Champion? In WCW. You remember that? And then Barry Windham got it. But yeah, Rick Rude, that's where he won it, and they had that title. And then they combined the titles when Ric Flair, I think he beat Barry Windham. They combined the two titles. But no, it's still, WCW, in my opinion, was still the NWA. WCW was not some new company. As much as people want to say, oh, it was a new company and they was competing. No, WCW didn't start in 1998. Didn't start in 1996. WCW started way back. It goes back to the Jim Crockett promotion days. Jim Crockett Promotions bought Georgia Championship Wrestling, and all that morphed into the NWA.
Oh, I remember all that. So Saturday Night 605. I remember.
So, man, it's just like in boxing, the WBA, WBC, and all that. That's why they call it the lineage, the lineal belt. The WBC belt is the real world title. Even they came up with IBF, they came up with WBA under that. Still, that real world heavyweight championship belt is the WBC belt. So to me, it's just like an offshoot. Basically, NWA was an offshoot of what Crockett had left. He left some things, and they just decided to say, okay, this right here is still in our playbook, so we're gonna go ahead and use it. Because look, the bigger tapes, the NWA, the biggest tapes, who owns them? Who owns
WWE?
WWE owns it. WWE bought, what did they buy? WCW. They bought that library. Those main tapes and the main years of
that's all
NWA.
That's all Vince wanted, man. That's all Vince wanted.
I know that's all he wanted, but the main years of the NWA, it's morphed into that WCW library. That's why he was able to get his hands on it. So that new NWA was it pretty much was an outlaw NWA. It was an NWA that just came out of nowhere. But yeah, the name, what's name just decided to get away from the name. Ted Turner and all those guys got away from the name. But yeah, there wasn't no new company. But
let's finish up with these comments, man, so we can go and get up out of here.
No doubt about that.
All right. Jeff Samuel said my favorite back then was Coco Beware, Chris. Okay, got that. All right, Jeff Samuel said, what's up, Scott? Hope everything is well, OG. Okay. James L said Tony Ellis wasn't a bad cat. No, he wasn't. He wasn't, from what I'm understanding, he wasn't. Robert Brown, Straight Candy McPimpin had a chance to go all the way with Mark Henry in 06 and have him win the world title from Kurt. Okay. James L, LOL, and Chris. Robert Brown, who's stronger, Mark Henry or Brock Lesnar? Mark Henry. Hands down, man, Mark Henry. Hands down.
Yeah, Mark definitely. Henry. I put my money on Mark.
Yeah, Mark
on
Henry.
What?
Is who's stronger, him or Brock Lesnar? Mark Henry.
Yeah, Mark Henry. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Jacob Henney. Why is everybody sleeping on Too Cold Scorpio?
Too cold.
I got my opinions on him. I'm not a big fan of him, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Y'all can go ahead and elaborate. I'm just gonna stop
man,
right
all
there.
I can really say, like, his best run in wrestling to me was when he teamed up with Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Buff Bagwell.
Yep.
That
ECW dog. ECW dog.
Well, he was in ECW, man, but like I say,
and he wasn't doing that crazy stuff neither.
Yeah.
see, that's the stuff you miss, Harry. That's the stuff that you miss, man.
I don't know, man, but you like to say, if he did he impress you in ECW?
Nah, man, because he was still doing that juke and jive and stuff, man. Yeah, he could come off the top rope, do a 360 splash and all this and all that and whatever and all the high flying. Okay, cool. Because a lot of people wasn't doing that then, but he didn't tickle my fancy.
Yeah, he still did the same thing that he did in WCW. If you ask me,
exactly.
ECW, I remember that. But yeah, too cold could wrestle, man. But hey, he could have been special. He could have been better than what he was. But I think he relied too much. I think who asked the question there, Chris? On that,
Jacob Henney.
Okay, Jacob, my man Jacob Henney in the house. What's up, Jacob? But Jacob, I think he got to the point where he had something different. His athleticism. Now that's some athleticism that I had seen from my man Sweet Ebony Diamond, Rocky Soulman Johnson. He was doing a lot of things, even though he kept it on the mat and did it. He rolling over, like you throw him to the rope and they try to clothesline him or whatever. He'll roll up under it and do some of the things that Too Cold was doing. But he did it off the mat, which made it even more special. But Too Cold Scorpio was somebody that reminded me of a lot of the things that he actually did. But Too Cold Scorpio, to me, it seemed like he had that few special moves and he did not move past that. The progression, his progression just did not elevate him. So I mean, he needed something else to elevate him, and he didn't use anything but what he had, the special moves that he had. So that's my opinion of him. What about you, Joe?
Too Cold was good. I mean, he definitely had his time. I was sitting here thinking, I mean, I don't ever recall him being really good as far as interviews and personality-wise. He didn't seem to have that character, that charisma to truly get himself over with the people. It was more reliant on his, specialty high-flying moves that drew the attention to him.
Right, exactly.
And plus, I don't like his business savvy.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put it out there, man, because hey, I think me and you were gonna work a show that he was gonna be on.
Yeah, we were.
And Joe, I don't know if you heard about this, but he basically held up the promoter for 5 times as much more money than what he actually what his booking fee is.
Yeah. I think that was one of the last shows Danny was gonna do.
Yeah, and I was like, I heard that, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, because
and you know what?
Because you can tell if you're a wrestler and you got a name. Okay, Marcus Bagwell, you get him, he's gonna have a booking fee already set at a certain price.
Right.
He expects you to pay it, and he's gonna do his thing for however long. Okay, cool. We all know Too Cold, he has a booking fee, whatever his price is. Okay, you pay it. But then he just got in his mind, nah, I might be able to get 5 more times more money. Let me up the ante. And he basically tried to hold the promoter up, man. And word got around, Joe, and I did not like it. And I was like, it put a sour taste in my mouth about him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be around this guy.
And you know what? And if he was something special, and that's what I thought about it at the time. Like, he wasn't that special when he wrestled. I mean, when he was on TV, when he was big time, he wasn't that special. So I'm like, where does he get off asking for that much money? Guy hadn't been on TV in over 20 years. So I don't know. It's crazy. All right, Marshall Vandal says Scorpio Sky. Yes, Scorpio Sky is special. He's really good. Got a lot of talent. All right, Richie Matthews said, I thought Harry added Dutch Mantel.
Hold on, you missed Jacob Henney. You missed Jacob Henney, man.
Okay, I didn't see Jacob. Okay,
Jacob said Will Hobbs is trained by Mark Henry, and now just like Tony Atlas did for Henry.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that, Jacob, but yeah, I missed that. All right, Richie Matthews, Scott, come this Wednesday for Dynamite. I don't know if Scott will or not. I don't know if he watches that like we do. Richie Matthews cracking up. Marshall Vandal says Ron was Joe's nickname back then, Chris and Harry, and him was 2 Live Crew. God nobody. All right. Jason Michael says Harry called Joe Ron, calls Ron sound like a wrestler named Joe should. Okay. I blame JL. Ron sound original. We got too many Joes. Where's the Rons? Okay. All right. Marshall Vandal, Harry got bored to hear what Bischoff got to say. It's like me watching AEW. All right. Robert Brown, R-Truth has been made into a joke. Pretty much, Robert. They've gone a little too far with it. And I think they're kind of losing it a little bit. All right. Richie Matthews, LA Knight got more charisma than The Rock. Harry said, yeah. No flipping way, Richie. No flipping way. All right. Scott Larson. Hey, what about The Godfather 2? Okay, I'm done. Yeah, The Godfather's pretty good.
Yeah, forgot about it. Yeah, definitely.
I can't really say he's a great wrestler, but he's pretty good on that mic, man.
And charismatic too, man.
Yeah, he's very charismatic. I even liked his Papa Shango thing, man. Papa Shango, that was kind of funny. Papa Shango, he's pretty funny. All right, Jacob Sammy. Mark Henry was Harry's favorite sexual chocolate character. Barry White. Man, come on, Jacob Sammy. No. I did not like that. I did not like that character at all. All right, Jacob Sammy. Sometimes, Harry, we got to acknowledge our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Hey, definitely, I acknowledge him, man, straight up. All right, Jacob Sammy, laugh out loud. All right, Robert Brown, did y'all ever hear about Stevie Ray attacking Mike Awesome because something went wrong in a match with Mike Awesome and Booker T?
I haven't heard that, man. I haven't heard of that.
I heard about that. But wow, that is flat out crazy. But guys, I'll tell you what, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna let our man Joe get out of here. We appreciate Joe coming on. Joe, when we end this thing, don't leave, man. Me and Chris, we're gonna talk to you for just a little while longer. But guys, we definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys coming in and rocking with us, man. The Straight Up Wrestling family, man. You know, our friends on here. Hey, I'm pretty sure.
And I've got a big announcement, man. Hold on. I got a big announcement.
Go with the big announcement, man.
All right, guys, y'all see that right there, guys? We're at 1,000 subscribers, guys, and it's all because of you guys, man. Thank you for helping make the Straight Up Wrestling Show what it is, man. Without you guys, there is no us, man. We say that all the time, and we really thank you guys. We're at 1,000 subscribers, man. And
over here on YouTube, we had 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, man. But we're still bumping up on Facebook and everything like that.
And it's only going to get bigger and better, man.
But but we know YouTube is the hardest one to get to that 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate each and every one of you guys staying with us, man, rocking with us, pretty much for help pushing our content. But guys, we will see you tomorrow, man. We're gonna be rocking that thing out for Raw like we always do. Well, Chris will not be there because Chris is work. I think he's closing all week. But I will be on there, man. We're gonna do our thing. But join me for Raw tomorrow. And guys, we will talk to you later. And I like to thank my distinguished guest, man, our distinguished guest, Scott Larson, and my man Joe Wheeler, guys. Definitely check out Scott Larson on #Truth. And hey, there's a couple
shows. Before we go, man, let us know what you got going on, man, where people can see you at. Man.
I wasn't finished, man. Just one second.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, there's shows on, you got to go back into our archives. There's shows on there with Joe Wheeler's voice on there with Danny. I got old shows on there, and I got shows on there when me, Danny, and Joe was out there commentating. We had Bill on there too, Bill Hazelwood on there too, but definitely that show is on there too. But Joe, definitely let the people know where you're going to be next, man.
Well, anybody can look me up on Facebook. I'm on Facebook as Joe Wheeler. And anybody wants to contact me, you're welcome to contact me via email at josephwheeler@hotmail.com. Right. Southern States Wrestling is kind of my home promotion over in Kingsport, Tennessee. I've been with them for 25 years, and you can type in Southern States Wrestling. We've got a big 33rd anniversary show coming up next Saturday in Kingsport. It's 33 years of Southern States Wrestling, and we're doing our annual Hall of Fame inductions. So that'll be a great event next week in Kingsport. And then, of course, like I mentioned, March the 30th, I'll be down in Shelby with John Collins on that event. And so I'm all over the place, and, look forward to getting out and about and trying to do more shows this year. So.
All right. Well,
Okay, that's what's up, Joe.
Yeah, Chris and I, we're going to see what we can do to get with Joe, man. And, hey, and hopefully bring you some of the action, bring you some highlights or whatever we need to do. But, guys, we definitely will get with you, and we will see you tomorrow, man. I will see you guys for Raw tomorrow. And, hey, we are out of here. We thank you once again, man. We thank all of our friends, man, to come in, rocking with the family tonight. But we'll see you later. Stay straight up. Peace.
Peace.